It's my duty to please the booty.
And Muzz got mad at me, the coach said, he goes, Jesus Christ, why don't you just work 2 nights? And I went, okay.
Stretch the call.
Please never do that.
Yep.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 476 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by Pink Whitney from our friends at New Amsterdam Vodka here in the Barstool Sports podcast family. Merry Christmas, everyone. We're a day early this week. We got a new year on the corner. We have the best gift ever. You probably heard the best sequel since The Dark Knight. Biz got us Wayne once again. Wayne Gretzky coming to you in a little bit. Part 2 of what will hopefully be a trilogy. Let's go to Biz first. How'd you finagle this? You know how you did first.
What should have been?
Sandbagged them.
Ho, everybody. That's how you should have kicked today off.
I couldn't believe he didn't start it with a giant
I know. My OCD won't allow for it.
That's true. No, man. Well, first of all, it's so awesome to be able to drop a surprise like this for our Spittin Chiclets listeners. We love our fans, and for Wayne to give us his time again, he's a busy guy. So, we're very blessed at the fact that he was able to sit down with us for another, about an hour and 10 minutes? And share really the second segment of his journey. This is going to eventually probably be a trilogy and hopefully more, but it was great that we got to cover a lot of the Hockey Canada stuff too in this one. And I mean, I would probably say that one of the crazier stories about Walter's basement, and we won't get into it too much, but just a very special interview. So aside from that, man, I'm excited for you guys to hear it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Part 2 of 3. Whit Dog, Ryan Whitney, what's going on, brother? All excited for the big day? Two boys, one more on the way, maybe a boy.
A tough little spot right now with the kids with the flu. Not great timing, just the old swab at the doctors. And last night I said, Ryder, you want to go to hockey practice? He's like, no. I'm like, you're being lazy. He's like, no, Dad, I really don't feel good. And 20 minutes later, he's on the couch for like 3 hours from like 5 to 8. So we knew something was wrong. But you know what? It's just being around the family that's all that matters. And we've got some nice gifts planned out. Actually, this year he really wants a net, so I went and bought a net. I got to put that together, which I am not like the put together guy, but I said I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a real man and a real dad, and I'm going to spend my time in the basement, maybe put some tunes on, and just kind of put this thing together. We'll see how it goes, but it should be a great time, right? I mean, I know it's Christmas Day today for all you guys. We're recording on Saturday the 23rd. I know, Biz, I'm very excited for you. You work a lot. You work probably too much in my mind, but I understand why. You're going to get away to Mexico. Very excited for you to get a little break, turn the mind off for a little bit after you're always buzzing. R.A.G., I know you're coming home, G. R.A., I'm sure you're just chilling with the fam. So It's an awesome time to kind of reflect on how lucky we all are, and also kind of have thoughts and feelings for people who are maybe going through a little bit of a tough time, especially around this time of year. So I love being with you guys today, and I'm excited for the holiday no matter what's going on in our family right now.
What'd you get Ryder? Like, what do you get the kids for?
Dude, so my friend, his wife kind of started this really good thing where she's like, I'm just so sick of the toys. And same for us, where, you give toys, they play with them for 3 minutes, and you got toys everywhere. Like, what I do now is and for every parent that knows, every night it's Groundhog Day. You go around, you clean up the room, you clean up the playroom, you clean up the living room, and I just throw away toys now. Every night I pick a couple, I chuck them right in the trash. Or actually, no, I put them in a trash bag and then we give them away. But I'm just like deleting.
Yeah,
I'm just deleting
style.
Hey, no. I was going to throw them away.
Let's all shame Whit now for throwing away toys instead of giving them away to the less fortunate.
All right, I'm not going to tell my story. I guess it's pick on Whit Day again.
Fuck off.
I was going to throw them away, so I had to give my wife credit. She said, no, we can give all the toys away, because they were like random little like parts that aren't with the rest of the parts of the toys, whatever. I digress. So long story long, she ended up saying, well, what we do now is we do a gift you want, a gift you need, and a gift to read. So like 3 gifts, and then you can do another one like a gift to wear. So I kind of tried to push for that this year and not do so many gifts, because the thing is, there's so much stuff that you think the kids want. They open, they have no interest. So they probably are both getting about 6 things. They're both going to get the net. And then I need my son Ryder to learn how to ride a bicycle. He's 6 now, so it's like, buddy, the time is now. So we got him a bike. It's like a little, no training wheels though. It's like the way they teach kids to skate now without pushing the milk crate and stuff, which I kind of don't necessarily agree with. But nonetheless, with bikes, it's similar where they don't put, you get the bike with no pedals and you learn to like run on it, lift your feet up and cruise and balance. This one has pedals. So it's just going to be, hey, bud, go in the backyard, even though it's rock hard right now, and put a helmet on and figure out how to ride a bike. Like, you're 6 years old. So then we got
picture Whit pushing this kid down the street. He ends up in the fucking woods. Ah!
Yeah.
Right off to the side, right into the ditch.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. So Wyatt has a bike with training wheels, and then what else? We got Wyatt. He's got a jersey coming, a little hockey jersey coming that he really likes rocking jerseys all the time. And other than that, as most guys would say, I think a lot of the wives do most of the shopping. So nothing too crazy, nothing too interesting, but it'll still be like a fun setup when they come downstairs. I'm sure the room will look great. That's my memories of Christmas. As we get into Christmas time and memories, like it's always kind of coming down the stairs, and my parents always had like nice soft Christmas music playing from a little speaker in the background, or back in those days it was like a radio. The station would rip them all night long, and then you see each kid's got a little section of a couple toys, and then as Biz, you mentioned in the Gretzky interview, your favorite present, I won't give that away. I kind of had a similar experience once.
I think I've said it before. I don't know if you guys ever got the we're done unwrapping the gifts. Oh no, what's that? What's that underneath the couch?
Yeah, the Ralphie BB gun incident. Exactly. What's back there, bud?
And I got the Easton aluminum, and my dad wasn't even a big picture taker, and he had a disposable camera, and he snapped the perfect photo of it, and that was probably the best gift I ever got. My parents were smart though, because we would go do like a party the night before with my mom's sister, her husband, my grandparents, and of course they would be getting into the booze, right? So they didn't want to wake up in the morning because we're all excited. 5:30 a.m. we're ready to go downstairs and start tearing all these Christmas presents apart. So what my parents would do is when we get home from that, before we would go to bed, they would give us one gift, and my parents would always give me my Lego gift.
Oh, you were a Lego guy?
Huge Lego guy.
Imagine seeing this dude try to do a Lego one now.
What do you mean? My mom, I thought I was going to be a fucking architect. I was so good at doing Legos. Why are you laughing?
I don't see you having the patience to do Legos at this point in your life.
I should probably start doing it because it's always good to work with your hands. Although I've taken over cooking now, I'm basically Chef Boyardee. Move over Emerald. But bang. Yeah, they bang another notch. But they would give me a Lego set, so that way when I would wake up at 5:36 in the morning, I would be occupied for a few hours doing that, and so they could lick their wounds and then eventually make their way downstairs. But my mom was unreal. We had these big stockings, probably about 4 feet tall. And yeah, there was some socks in it, some underwear, but there was also like cool little gifts and other things that that was what she was known for, was the big stocking stuffer. So I always had great Christmases. My parents were unbelievable, and I was very blessed as a child to get everything I wanted.
Did you have Main Street USA, Biz?
What's that?
The big Lego set? It was like a whole downtown area?
No, I think the coolest one I ever got was like the monorail. And much like the one in The Simpsons, it wasn't it wasn't the Simpsons version 1RA. So could pump the brakes here. I know you're getting excited. You got a half chub me talking about The Simpsons.
Aren't you one of the little rascals?
And then you could put a battery in it, and then the monorail would go. So that one probably took me about 6 months to figure out the setup with. So to your point, yeah, I wasn't the best Lego guy. But
I was never into Legos. I find them like even now, like if I looked at a Lego set, like it's just overwhelming to me. I never did that stuff.
Well, you just got to read the sheet and you follow the steps.
Yeah, I was stick handling.
I should get one for my contractor. Maybe you'd finish my fucking house. Anyway, RA, what was your favorite gift as a kid?
Playboy.
Yeah, that's right. You guys get the.
But by now, I got hustled when I was 12. That's the story now. Favorite gift, it was probably Atari 2600 when it first came out. It was like either 78 or 79. I never even heard of it. Didn't even know what it was. My stepfather, he was very much ahead of the curve, one of those early adopted types. So we woke up and I'm like, what is this thing? We didn't even know what it was. It was groundbreaking video game at the time. It was just Atari then. It didn't get the 2600 till later. So that's probably the coolest one that comes to mind.
Was that just Pong, RA? Like the game?
Actually, it was combat. With the first one to come out, you got one game. It was combat with like the tanks shooting and you would bounce off the walls, like wicked, like rudimentary 8-bit shit. Like, I mean, but at the time it was groundbreaking. It's what you had to do to play video games. That plus a whole bunch of Star Wars shit. So those are always my favorite things.
Isn't it wild to see where video games have evolved?
it's scary in a sense. It's not that long ago that it was just a ball going back and forth on the screen, and now you see like people's heads
now you're like
being
murdering
ripped
hoes
off.
and shit every corner.
I always say, I think that is it naive to think that we've been alive, especially me and you and RA, even you as well. Maybe G, not so much. Cause when you were a kid, like when were you born, G? What year?
93.
Okay. So by the time you were coherent enough, there was probably already no Nintendo, even maybe Sega Genesis.
I'd say by the time I was like 10 years old, like most kids had like an N64 playing Donkey
Oh, so
Kong
you
and
never
stuff.
played Nintendo growing up?
No, I was more of an N64 guy.
Nintendo ice hockey is
Blades of Steel?
You get it's like skinny guy, fat guy, medium guy. No, not Blades of Steel. Blades of Steel is awesome too, but it's ice hockey. Nintendo ice hockey. That was
I was NHL
probably-
Hits.
NHL Hits was good. Yeah,
That was
like
fun. You used to get light guys up like NFL Blitz, but
Yes,
but
yes.
I find those video games more enjoyable. They're just more simple. I don't need 25 fucking buttons. And then every year when they drop a new one, the buttons are different where you have to do, it's just so stupid.
Yeah, I agree.
Just
The controllers for me is big. I mean, I played video games a lot. I was always playing, I played an MLB game. And, back in the day, it was like NHL 96 or 95 was probably the best game I ever played along with ice hockey. But I never really played like anything but sports games, but I was a gamer. And then I think 10 years, 12 years ago, I haven't played one since. I think because it got overwhelming with the controller and the amount of buttons. And I like the simplicity of the old school way, Biz. I know what you're saying. Maybe we sound like big time boomers here.
Well, we are.
Yeah, we are.
And the point I was going back to is I feel like we've been alive for the craziest advancements in technology throughout the history of the world. Is that fair to say? Was there a point in like medieval times where something happened in a 20-year span that was like...
Yeah, there was like a new death machine, like a new way to like kill someone that like pissed off the king. Yeah, maybe when the guillotine came into play, everyone was like, "Holy shit!" But Biz, we are the generation.
That was to chop the forzy, not people's heads off.
Oh shit!
Sure. Okay. Well, fuck it. Freedom.
Biz, we're the generation. I find it hard to put the number on like how old you have to be now to say this, but we lived with and without the internet. And it's like to see both. I mean, we've talked about this before. I think looking back, it was probably maybe a little bit more enjoyable and simple, like the prior life before
Big
everything.
Time.
But
Big time.
But RA and me and you, maybe G a little bit, but you're probably
a little bit, not much. I mean,
that
like
10 years between you and Biz and me is pretty big, but it's like we will be the last people to ever know before and after.
Do you if you had the power, to be able to say no more internet ever, would you use it?
If we could still keep our jobs, yeah.
No more internet on phones, I would do.
All of a sudden we get no
Sounds
paychecks.
very hypocritical about the fact that
shit.
the only reason anybody knows who the fuck I am is the internet. So
I get your point, Biz. There are times I think we should just unplug the internet. Like everybody's had enough internet. This is enough. Let's unplug it and start over again, because there's a lot of shitstorms that have come out of it. It's been great. Obviously, look how many people have got jobs off of Twitter or made some great connections or a million other things. But it's fucking, there's a lot of cringe out there. Like,
I mean, without the internet, 7-year-old Butch Goring wouldn't be bending me over and pumping my eyes shut. So really, we have to be very.
Is in your face. He
runs my show.
Wow.
Butchie. I mean, are we going to get to it later? Do we have anything else to talk about? We got to talk about live shows.
Just quick hi to G. That's all now. Just,
G,
let him
what
know
the fuck's up?
Yeah, we don't want to leave our producer G hanging.
Nothing
Congrats.
really. I mean, I'm just feeling very grateful as well, especially after a successful Chiclets University release last week. So if you haven't seen that, go watch it. Filmed a video with Will Smith at BC. But very grateful for the holidays. Very excited to be back home. All the boys are going to the greatest bar tonight. All the OG guys. So it's going to get a little reckless. So I'm super excited. Very excited to be home.
Fucking right.
Good stuff,
G. I'm grateful for our whole team. This is a time of year where we got to really mention the whole staff. We got Pasha, Shauna Puzo, Elliot Fish, obviously G, all the work you've been doing.
Army and Murr,
of course, Army and Murr,
guys, Hammer and Game Notes,
the Game Notes boys. I forget anybody, G? Memesy, Dale, do his voice, Whit.
Daily.
Hey boys, Merry Christmas. I'm up in London pounding a MILF. I asked Santa for a couple, but I only got brought one, but it's pretty sick, dude. She's really thick, and go Wings, go.
Unbelievable. A little round of applause for old
Uncanny.
Dale /
I just
Witty
feel
boy.
like Memesy, Christmas must be. I just see him crushing drinks, just having a ball. Like that guy just lives the life, man. Never a
Big
bad
eggnog
day in
guy.
Memesy's world.
You know, he's just got a Coke can cock too, just thumping these MILFs in Ontario. Just an absolute weapon on him. But grateful for our whole team, man. They make the whole engine work, and it's been a great start to the year. And RA, I know we kept pumping you up. You're the hog. But buddy, you've been dethroned. We got G, the content factory now. He's doing the Chiclets University. By the way, I think we actually gained our first female YouTube subscriber because we dropped that Chiclets U with Will Smith. Have you seen that?
Stallion.
This guy is an absolute weapon.
And I think he
Handsome
has a
devil.
sister at BC too. So then, like her friend, it's just like, oh my God, Will.
They're ranked number 1 in the country right now for hockey.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then they have Will Smith's going to dominate the World Juniors as well. His whole line, Ryan Leonard, Gabe Perreault. Yeah, he's on top of the world right now.
Guys, Whit here. And you know what time it is? It's Pink Whitney time. It's holiday season. It's the gift grab year. It's the Secret Santa year. And every single person out there should be giving a loved one, a friend, a big old bottle of Pink Whitney or a pack of nips or maybe a small Mickey of Pink Whitney. They got all sizes available now. They got the best flavored vodka in the world. That's right. Somehow in the world. Number 1 selling flavored vodka, Pink Whitney, that pink lemonade flavored vodka. You catch a nice buzz sitting by the fire, opening up some presents, spending time with your favorite cousins, maybe your favorite uncle. Hey, bud, let's go have a Pink Whitney on the rocks. Let's do a shot of Pink Whitney. Let's have an absolute time tonight, and we can thank Pink Whitney later. So if you're not about drinking at home, head on over to your local bar. All the bars I know, they serve Pink Whitney, and it's exceptionally smooth. It's great tasting, and it's got that refreshing lemon taste, right? It's got that nice aftertaste. Everyone takes a shot. They're worried about, oh, I need a chaser. Not with Pink Whitney. Pink Whitney could also be the chaser, so it's a double shot. So they also have the 1.75 liter bottle, more of the Pink Whitney as we know and love. Great for parties, great for sharing with friends, and great for just having an all-time holiday, whether it's New Year's or Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, doesn't matter. Pink Whitney's where it's at. Take your shot with Pink Whitney.
We are going to get to some World Juniors chatter later, but quickly, another thing about, we got to talk quickly live show. So a lot of people barking online, you guys need a bigger venue. You need a bigger venue. Some people were saying that they had tickets already in the waiting area, and then all of a sudden they were going to pay, and then boom, they didn't have them anymore. They lost them. So I don't know what the fuck happens with all that stuff and the technology or in Ticketmaster or whatever we sell them through. So if you were one of those people who didn't get them, we apologize. I don't really know what to say. G, you might know more than I do. And as far as going to a bigger venue, we just tend to do things a little bit more intimately. And we've done these live shows with about 1,000 people, and the Winter Gardens in Toronto, that's what it holds. There is another venue inside of there that holds 1,600. But the character in which the Winter Gardens Theater has is just so cool that's the one that we wanted to pick. So once again, we apologize. But the good news is if you do want an opportunity to see us, we're going to be collabing with the Gretzkys on something that's really cool. I'm going to throw it over to G to give it more of a breakdown of where we're going to be doing interviews, recording podcasts in a space that's recreated for the Gretzkys. Go ahead there, G.
Yeah, so they're recreating Walter Gretzky's basement. So it's going to be very cool. I don't know if they want us to release the address yet, but it's going to be a pop-up shop in downtown Toronto. Walter's basement will be recreated. They're going to be selling Gretzky merch in there. We're going to be there. We'll be there on Wednesday. We're going to be doing interviews. We're going to be hanging with everyone. We're going to record the pod there on Tuesday night. So it's going to be really, really cool just to be able to see Walter's, basement recreated where so many historic hockey, conversations have gone down. I think it's going to be awesome. And then the whole Gretzky fam will be buzzing around. So it's going to be cool.
The thing about the bigger venue is, we have trouble speaking when we're alone in our offices. Like 1,000 people, it's a lot. And the bigger you get, not just the more intimidating it might be for us, even though when the lights are at you, it's kind of nice because you can't see anything. But the more people in there, then the more side conversations are going on, and then the more madness that happens. So I feel bad for people, and I can't believe how quick it sold out. I think it was 2 minutes. So thank you so much to everyone who bought. And I do feel really bad for people who tried to get one and couldn't. But it's kind of hard to picture ourselves in like a 3,000, 4,000 seat arena when we can barely talk to and it's just us four. So, but thank you to everyone who bought a ticket.
I think one thing too, in typical Chiclets fashion, like we didn't have this planned out a year ago. Like most of these theaters, you have to have planned out a year, 9-10 months in advance. So we got the best theater essentially that we could. So, it's NHL All-Star Weekend in Toronto. A lot of good theaters were booked. So Winter Garden's an amazing theater, though. It's going to be an awesome time. We're going to be selling merchandise there. So it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, and just to go back, sorry, Ari, I got a little jammed up off the start when you threw the Wayne stuff to me. It's like, obviously we're so grateful for his time and these iconic stories that he's telling. The first podcast, we went through a lot of the Edmonton days and then eventually the beginning to the move over to LA. This one, we cover a lot of the LA and a lot of the international play. And one of the stories that's told, like I had never heard it before. And you guys are going to fucking shit a brick when you hear about it. And it takes part in Walter's basement. And just being able to hear these stories from Wayne, he talks about his dad because with no Walter, there is no Wayne. Like he was a revolutionary mind in the way that he helped his son, have access to all the things that he had access to in order to train to become the greatest player to ever play. Like the pond in the backyard, like training with the tennis balls in order to soften up his hands, like, go to where the puck is going to be, not to where it is, and all that type of stuff. So he speaks like so highly of his father, and to hear these iconic stories about the greatest player to ever play the game our jaws are dropping while he's telling them. So for him to come on this podcast and share that is awesome. And the fact that with that story taking place in his basement, now they're going to recreate it at the All-Star game in Toronto with a pop-up shop where you can, purchase merchandise and come by and, look at the trophies that he won and all the memorabilia and stuff like that. I just think it's super cool. And the fact that we get to be a part of it at the All-Star game in Toronto, it's just going to make for an incredible week. So we're fired up for you guys to listen to this. And once again, we're pumped to surprise you guys on Christmas Day. And we hope that you guys really enjoy the interview and everything that we provided here.
Well said, busy boy. And for those of you who are going to be in Seattle, we're going to be at the Press Box Saturday night from 8:30 to 10 p.m. That's at 1518 First Ave South, Suite 100. Once again, Press Box in Seattle. Looking forward to getting out there. First time ever going to Seattle, man. I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be Winter Classic is going to be awesome. I'm actually going to get to meet and interview Marshawn Lynch. I'm working with the NHL.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah, like 15 minutes with Marshawn Lynch, who, he's a busy man. And
you gotta get his recollection and story of when he took that golf cart on the field when he was playing college football. Just ripping it around. So, and his Skittles consumption to try to just ram home more
I was just
TDs.
going to ask him about the goal line play for 15 minutes.
Gotta ask probably
what he wants to talk about around the holidays.
I'm just here so don't get fined.
You did touch on it though too. Is some people are like, well, where's this pop up going to be? Closer to the date, we're going to announce the pop up in Toronto where we're going to be doing all these podcasts and recording a bunch of interviews.
So anyone that couldn't come to the show could come over and we can meet people there and stuff.
Shake people's hand,
Awesome.
You get to chat with them and have a good time. So I think that's pretty much it as far as house cleaning, right? Follow the Spittin Chiclets YouTube channel, subscribe. 315K now. Whit, suck on that.
Boom, get those numbers up.
Like it doesn't help me. I don't know why you're saying suck on that. I'm happy about that.
Well, no, I know last time you gave me shit because I kept mentioning it.
No, when you said it, if you say it 19 times this show, I might give you shit, but I do love that the number's going up.
That's good. It's a good thing.
Because he says it 19 times, though. That's why it goes up.
Yeah, suck on that, way to bow.
Subliminal. By the way, NHL 94 was the best hockey video game ever. That was the all-time one. But, Biz, I don't know too many guys who pick a fight with a 74-year-old who played 16 years in the NHL during its toughest post-violent era, won 4 Stanley Cups, and his name is Butch. Only he would pick a fight with a guy like that. Butch Gorin, Island is great. And then you offered an olive branch to him on television the other night.
I did. I just try to say that I know I've been critical of them playing boring hockey in the past, but over the month of November and December, they've been pretty electric. I mean, whether they're giving up leads, whether their power plays buzzing at top 5 in the league, Matt Barzal and Horvat being one of the best dynamic duos in the league. This Noah Dobson kid, who is tied for the team lead in points, is having a breakout year. I mean, he had pretty good numbers the last couple of years, but he's on pace to put up 70, 80 points. Pretty impressive, especially with a bunch of other D out of the lineup. But going back to the Butch stuff, I just hope that he's having as much fun as I am, because this is a blast going back and forth.
I sense he's not. Like, I sense he's serious.
Oh, you think so?
I don't know. Those old school guys, man. They don't fuck around. Like, you're shitting on his team nonstop, and then all of a sudden you come with the whole change of heart. Maybe it's the holiday season.
Yeah.
Maybe Gary Bettman got in TNT's ear and said, "Biz, you cannot continue to ramrod this team and ruin their entire fan base by constantly bullying them." But Butch, to me, unless he comes on the pod and we could chat with him and laugh, I think he's sitting at home and he's on it. He puts his glasses on to get on his phone and tweet away at you, and he hates your guts.
So I DM'd him about coming on the podcast. He's ghosted me. He has not responded.
This guy, this is not a joke for Butchie, baby. Butchie hates you.
I mean, it'd be pretty funny to fucking like me and him and Rough and Rowdy. Me against Blue Pulaski. You my boy, Blue. But dude, he's a fucking comedy on Twitter. Like what was the one? So we did. Ovi's been struggling. I think he only had 4 goals so far, maybe 5 goals during this season. So we did a demo of the power play, and right after the period, after our breakdown, he's like, "Oh yeah, Biz, way to go! I'm sure that'll get Ovi out of his slump." Like coming at me right away. Yeah. So then I go back at him, and for as old as he is, he knows how to work the Twitter machine. That's for sure.
And you hit him with a cannonball, right? It was like, yeah, you could come on and show people how to put on diapers and put in their dentures, and boom. I mean, I read that. I said, holy shit, this is getting out of control. And like, Butch is probably still trying to think of a comeback for that one. Has he responded to the dentures comment yet?
No, but who's the old...
Neil Smith came in.
Yeah, Neil Smith. It's me against the senior citizens this holiday season. Bad Santa.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Neil Smith, Biz is the only person in the world who could somehow bring together the Rangers and the Islanders. He's got old GM legends who, I mean, I worked with Neil Smith once. He's a little out to lunch, I'm not going to lie. And then we got Butchie Goring, the old Islanders legend. And these guys usually probably hate each other, and they've combined to form some unit to just battle the bully that is Paul Bissonnette, going after the eldest statement of the NHL currently. So I respect Butch, though. He's not backing down.
Now, some people are correlating the fact that we're going back and forth, and I chirped them about the diapers and dentures, that I don't have respect for a 4-time Stanley Cup champion and a guy who won the Conn Smythe. That is not the case. This is all just fun banter to me, and I apologize if he takes it seriously and he wants me dead, but I mean, it's fucking Twitter, man. All of a sudden, people started taking it way too seriously, and I ain't doing that.
Well, I believe it was probably you just carving the Islanders over and over. Like, it didn't really begin on Twitter. He started on Twitter, but like you started I mean, I think if you ask Islanders fans, like, you hate them. You really, really hate them.
I began to hate them actually more than the Rangers, because at least the Rangers fans will come at you, and they don't really care. They're not really that sensitive about it. They it's more of like a fuck you, no fuck you. Where Islanders fans, like they're a bunch of fucking babies, man. They're just miserable babies. Based on the replies I usually get from Rangers fans compared to Islanders fans, I almost want to hop on the Rangers bandwagon just to hate on them even more.
Well, people fucking hate their team if you're not watching. Like, what I tweeted about one of the games last night, a goal or a save, and someone's like, "Why aren't you watching the Oilers game?" It's like, fucking, who said I wasn't? I mean, it's like fucking people take it personal if you don't mention whatever they're fucking specifically talking about. It's like, come on. No, it's hilarious.
Grind my gears?
It's like, not at all. I mean, I literally got 4 TVs going at once. I'm like, buddy, I got all the games on. It's like, it's fucking crazy. People assume the craziest shit.
You got 4 TVs at home, all right?
No, I got
all
the
stolen
TV
off the back of a truck.
They fell out of the truck. No, I got the TV, laptop, and 2 tablets. Plus my phone if need be too. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, I don't like 4 actual TVs. I don't like that setup. I mean, it's good. People like it if they have it, whatever. But it's just too much going on. I focus on one main one and then have the smaller screens. But Biz, back to Butch.
Maybe a handicap match. Lou and Butch versus me and Rough and Rowdy. They alternate rounds.
Some rando called him out for his grandma, and Butch replied, "Why? Biz can't read."
Yeah, he's just
Like,
going out.
holy
He's
fuck!
popping
And then,
my eyes shut.
how about the New York Post? They're right on top of it. 10 minutes later, Butch Goring rejects Paul Bissonnette's Islanders olive branch. Legit fucking story in the Post. It's fucking crazy how it happens in real time like this. But
where's the Post at now? What would you consider the Post? It's just like a gossip magazine or a gossip newspaper?
It's the fucking tabloid rag of New York City. I think it's
I
way
thought
more. It's
Page
always been a
6
tabloid,
was.
but
I think it's part of Page 6,
Page
isn't it?
6 is Page 6 in the New York Post.
Oh,
They
okay.
have,
Okay.
They've sort of expanded their own little like fucking content machine or whatever. But yeah, Page 6 is in the New York Post. Yeah, they've been. I mean, still I believe the most popular, most sold newspaper in Manhattan, if I'm not mistaken. It's a pretty good accomplishment. But yeah, it's always been trash. Trashy got a fucking tabloid.
Oh,
but
thanks, all right.
That's what people like.
I thought it was a badge of honor.
I wouldn't say the Post has the best reputation among fucking well-known newspapers that have been around for 100 years. Biz, you weren't done yet, man. Aquaman, when you fucking come out with that old school Aquaman thing, what was the setup for all that? Jason Momoa was there.
People were a little confused, obviously, but they're doing promo because the second one, the sequel's coming out, and they said, hey, in order to do it, they're going to have J-Mo, my buddy Jason Momoa, he's going to give you a shout out on whatever he pre-records. So I was like, fuck yeah, I'll do it. I'll put the suit on. I didn't know it was going to be that suit. I thought it was going to be an actual legitimate one, and then I get hit with the pigeon suit. So obviously I put I'm the clown, so I clown it up for the camera, and but it was pretty cool to get Jason Momoa saying your name. I mean, he's a legitimate movie star, and he's pretty close buddies with Terry Ryan because they worked on a movie set before where Terry was like a stunt double or had a small role in a movie. And this is when Jason Momoa was just coming up. So I reached out to Terry and I said, hey, maybe we can get him on the podcast. So I'm waiting to hear back, but I think it'd be cool to hear from Jason Momoa, a huge Hollywood celeb. He's a handsome
You were
devil.
like the perfect dollar store Aquaman though. Like you got the same skin tone, I'd say, and then like the suit, it was perfect. You were like the bad Santa version of Aquaman. And that costume, when you came out at it, I said, oh my God, did Jazz just make that thing in the back room at TNT? But you pulled it off pretty good.
Thank you. They had to cut one part. Anson's like, he's like, you're supposed to put the battery pack in the back of the suit. I said, yeah, I'm a grower, not a shower, Ace. And then they had to.
They wouldn't let you say that.
No, that got cut.
Because you'd get fired as Aquaman for eating all the fucking fish for the fucking sushi reasons.
Yeah, exactly. And then did you guys see Hank quit TNT. He's done.
Did he?
After I was lead vocals in that holiday theme sing-along thing we did. I had a tough time hitting a few of those notes. So he said, fuck this, I'm going back to Sweden.
That was it.
Coming back. That was it. So it was a good run, Hank, and I don't blame you.
Fun to play in the sandbox with our buddy Army, too. You guys shared the desk duty the other night. Always good to see you two together.
Oh, God. Army told this hilarious story about, you mentioned the movie. What's the movie called again? Christmas?
A Christmas Story, yeah.
Christmas Story.
A Christmas
I always
Story,
forget the name of it. But his mom even texted him because she saw the promo for it, and she said, you watched that movie for a month straight, and then you went to school, and then you licked one of those icy poles, and then his tongue got stuck, and then Army had to pull it off, and then his tongue was bleeding the rest of the day at school. So that's Colby Armstrong for you. That's a good old sass boy.
And didn't he do it every year? He's like basically every year winter would come, he would do it again. Like he
I
never
think
learned
that was his
lesson.
first and only time. I
thought he said
that
he did
would
a couple times.
Oh, did he?
I would have thought he
would've
ran
shocked me.
face first into a pole with his snout looking like that. But
I was going to say that on TV. I was going to say, did they get the tip of your nose too? The bird nose? That thing's like a half-chewed caramel.
I think my favorite moment of game notes so far this year is when Tim Conley came on and his nose was curved one way and Army's nose was curved the other way, and they were on the perfect side of the screen, just noses facing each other. So,
yeah,
the old hockey player get the wounded snouts along the ride. But Army putting his tongue on a frozen pole in Saskatchewan's the least surprising thing I heard today.
No.
What else is not surprising? What the Nate Dogg. What a goddamn machine he's been thus far. Absolute tear. He scored his 300th career goal during his 5th career hat trick. The Avalanche 6-4 win over the Sens Thursday. He's on a 17-game scoring streak right now, the longest of the season. During that time, he's got 33 points, 12 goals, 21 assists, averaging 23-38 a game. His last 3 games, he's got 10 points, first in assist, first in even strength points, second in points, second in power play points. This guy, no shock that he's unbelievable, but wait, has you ever seen him play this good at this level before?
Wait, I picked him to win the Hart, and I would say most entertaining player in the league to watch right now.
You picked him preseason, or are you saying just the other night?
Preseason. No.
Did you?
Yes. Preseason.
Wow. It's a great call. All right, I would say that he's as close to McDavid as we'll get in terms of like nobody else flying through the neutral zone with the puck on their stick can take you out of your seat the way McDavid and McKinnon do. And he's got so much speed. Also the fact that he's a heavy big boy, dude. Like he throws his weight around. He crushed some. Who did he crush?
Oh,
recently?
it was on the broadcast.
Yeah.
It was on a back check right around the top of the circle where he got him close to the wall. I forget who it was too, but he fucking blew him up. And he gets those pistons going. And when I say pistons, it's those crossovers, feet in the air and just blowing by people. And I think that McDavid, the way he's so fast and floats, McKinnon's more just like you hear the skates just ripping into the ice, head up. His release is incredible, so dominating that when he gets the puck, it is a true like out of your seat type moment. Yeah.
I love seeing him do this. I actually love what's going on in Colorado right now. We'll talk about Devon Toews' comments in a little bit, but since January 1st, so this calendar year, Nathan McKinnon, 52 goals, 78 assists, 130 points in 80 games played. That's number 1 in the league in points for the calendar year. And you got to remember when talking about young prospects that come into the league, and we saw Jack Hughes start a little slow, Nathan McKinnon, man, it took him a while. There were a few years, like 3-4 years of 50 to 60 points, and then the explosion happened when just his body grew a little bit more. He really, grew into his body, I guess I should have said, and all of a sudden now it is dominating every single night. And like to go on a 17-game point streak, tops in the league so far this season, it's not just like he doesn't have 20 points in 17 games. It's 2 points per game in this run. It's big hits. It's carrying this team when they've needed to get going a little bit. Yeah. And it's such a joy to watch this guy. And I think probably because, we did get to sit down and interview him and see how serious he is about his career and his life, and realizing that, you don't know how long you have doing this, and there's going to be no wasted opportunities for him. I mean, you saw the press conference he gave when they lost to Vegas that year, how pissed off he was. They come back, they win the Stanley Cup. Last year, they fizzle out in the first round. Game 7 at home, they lose. You can only imagine how pissed off he was again, and he's brought it into this season. So it's amazing, and it's true must-watch TV when he's on the ice.
Based on my comments saying he was going to win the Hart, it does have a lot to do with what he did in the back half of the season last year, and also what he's able to accomplish 5-on-5. We all know with how good like team structure is and how good goalies are, it's hard to produce 5-on-5, and he's one of the best at it. Just watching him too, and like obviously the comparison to McDavid and the skill set, and how they're able to move out there, and just if you're just a casual fan, you know nothing about the game, and you go and you watch, you're like, okay, this guy's drastically better than everybody else on the ice.
Something's different, yeah.
But it's just that also that physical edge. Like the way that he's there's a loose puck. He's going in there fucking shoulder first. He's not going in there for the poke check. He's going there to separate you from the puck, take it himself, and get the fucking job done. I mean, you just mentioned the numbers, which are crazy, and just the guy he looks up to the most is Sid, right? And Sid is obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer and has collected many of league awards. The last real true award that McKinnon won was the Calder. Yeah, okay, he got the Lady Byng one year, but I don't think players hold the type of value of Lady Byng like they do the Hart, the Ted Lindsay, in any of those types of awards, right? The Rocket. So I just feel that he wants to solidify himself as a Hall of Famer, where, there's still obviously a lot of work to do. Some people might already say he's there based on his body of work. I would say there's still work to do. And he's just so driven in order to be the best that right now he's in a league of his own. And I got him right now as probably the front runner for the MVP. Some people might argue with that, but as far as the whole team's concerned, he's had to put the team on his back. Last year with the injuries they had in playoffs, like they were the only line that they could go to. And right now, and RA, I don't know if you want to throw it to the audio of Devon Toews or if you want to continue talking about McKinnon, but...
Well, the one thing about McKinnon, Biz, is you're right in saying like everything in the awards. it would be a real shame to me if at the end of his career he didn't have an MVP.
Right.
And it seems like this year, he's probably never been as close to one as he is right now throughout, maybe what are we? No, we're not halfway through the season, but just about. And so like where he is right now, I think it's all about Stanley Cups. But in the end, he would be lying, I think, if he said there wasn't part of his mind thinking, like, I got to get a Lindsay, I got to get a Hart, and this is the year for him to do it. Now, Kucherov's going to have a lot to say about that, what a sicko he is. But McKinnon right now is on the path to getting his first Hart, which I think all hockey fans agree he needs to get one at one point, just because it wouldn't make sense if he doesn't get an MVP.
I would think that if anybody had a brain, they would say he's one of the top 3 candidates as we speak.
Yes,
so it could be up
no
for
doubt.
debate. But he's one of the guys who's had a start where he deserves to be in the conversation. And let's throw it over to Devon Tave's comments. He's pissed, and this is a group, guys, that's been led by the top guys. And we all know in order to win nowadays, you need that depth. You go back last year to Vegas. I mean, you go to the Tampa Bay. You go to all these teams now. It's impossible to win just being top heavy. And I think that this is frustration from the core group of guys saying we need some of these guys who have been brought in who are lagging a little bit behind. I don't think we need to name names, but I think majority of people know some of the people that he's essentially pointing the finger at. So roll the tape.
I mean, it's self-awareness. We need guys that know how to play in our system, how to play our game, and know what it takes. And if we have guys in here, I think we got some guys that think they're playing well, and I think they're kidding themselves at this point. It's frustrating to play with. Play out there when you got guys that think they're playing well and they're doing things that you have no idea what play they're going to make or where they're going to be on the ice, and it's tough to play in this league when you don't know where your teammates are going to be. So that's where a lot of the frustration stems from.
Yeah,
I think it's fair to name names though, because it's hard to just like hear a player say that. And now I'm not saying he should. What I do really like about this, Biz, is this isn't happening as they're in the middle of a 9-game losing streak, right? This isn't happening when it's really low and it's like, guys, we gotta band together here. We gotta really figure this thing out. Let's come together as one and figure this out together. But this is happening while they're what are they? The 4th best team in the league, right? They've had a good season, but still, it's like not having complacency and not being okay with, we're in a great spot right now. We're tracking in the right spot to be in the playoffs. Home ice advantage. It's still about, no. We're playing well, but we have that much better to go. So, like, I don't know, Ryan Johansson was brought in to be the second-line center. There's been times lately he's been on the 4th line. That could be a guy. I know Bowen Byram's dealt with a lot in his career so far, but maybe that's a guy he's talking about. And so I guess it would be a little unfair because I'm guessing, and I'm not in that locker room in terms of who he's talking about. But I will say he's blatantly talking about 1, 2, 3 guys, right?
Correct.
You're not saying that without having someone in your head as you're talking.
And that's why I didn't really want to name names. I'm just basing it off of watching them and seeing maybe where some guys who have higher expectations aren't producing. I think Jonathan Drouin's one of those guys they thought was going to come in, and with the chemistry he'd had in the past with McKinnon playing in Halifax, winning a Calder Cup with him, and him kind of being I don't want to say a suitcase, but a guy who's been around the league a little bit to maybe understand it's maybe time to change the style of play up a little bit. And when you watch those top guys for that team play, it's not just the skill set, it's the fucking work ethic. They're putting it in off the ice too. So when you're not seeing that reciprocated, and I'm not talking about from a production of point standpoint, I'm talking about from an effort standpoint, that's why I feel like the top guys are getting a little bit tired. They dealt with it last year in playoffs where they only had the top guys, as I mentioned earlier. If they're set to win another Stanley Cup, I think they have to eventually address that second line center role. And that's why I think it was Elliot Friedman who talked about it on 32 Thoughts with the Lindholm stuff. I feel if you're Sakic and who's the GM there now? I know Sakic's the president.
What's his name?
Brian McSomething.
Mick something, I think.
I can't remember all these fucking names, guys. Blame the CTE. Thanks a lot, John Nasty Marasti and Jeremy.
Keith McFarland. Chris
McFarland. But I think they owe it to these top guys to do whatever they can. And some people have said, Biz, they wouldn't move on from Byram because he's a restricted free agent and he's having a bit of an off year. You can get him at a good price and he could be a really strong piece moving forward. Sure. I don't know what the fuck the answer is. But I think that in the West, with what they have right now and just being so top heavy with lack of contributions from the bottom guys, I think that I don't think they're strong enough to compete with everybody else who's going. Fuck, I would maybe take Winnipeg in a 7-game series over them right now.
I watched Winnipeg last night, Friday night, the 22nd, come out of the gates as hot as I've ever seen a team against the Bruins, and for 60 minutes dominate them. But quickly back to Taves' quote, because I'm not sure if everyone... So everyone hears the quote, and then you look at how guys are playing on the ice, and you look at stats, and that's why it is really unfair for us to try to think about who he's talking about, because what he's really mentioning is something that nobody outside that room would know, and it's how you act after a game. And that quote was given right after a game. So if you're a leader and you're one of the top players and you're playing well, a guy like Devon Taves, what you see is that nobody else would see is a guy who has an off night. You know, he didn't bring what he needed to bring. The team didn't play that well. And then maybe you see him laughing in the shower. You see him just chilling on his phone. You see him not really giving a shit. So it's not necessarily about what you're doing on the ice. And I know that that's directly what he's saying in terms of like, you're not bringing what you need to bring. But when he's saying, yeah, and you think you're doing well enough and you think you're playing up to standards, no. And you can tell that by what a guy's acting like around the rink, right? And this sounds bad, but because you want guys to stay positive, but it's a fine line, because if you're not playing well and you're not doing your job and you're in the locker room every day and you're laughing and you're joking around, there's guys who will take like serious offense to that. Like, what do you find so funny? Like, how are you having so much fun right now? Because you're not doing what this team needs you to do.
You shouldn't be doing helicopter cock in the shower when you're fucking losing and not contributing. Like, that's like that type of shit. That's nonsense. You know, you can't be doing that type of stuff. Can't be doing the mangina post game when you're fucking dropping games to.
Did either of you guys ever get reprimanded by like a vet for doing that? For like,
I did not.
Off?
I got reprimanded for being like too loud in the locker room as a rookie.
No,
but I never got, because when I played bad, I was like, I'm not going to be the guy that's like joking around. But everyone's different, where you want to just try to forget about it. Some guys, but it can piss other teammates off that are like, dude, you're playing like shit. You're not bringing what we need you to bring. And it seems to me that it's not bugging you as much as it should be bugging you. And that's the sense I got from Taves, is that they're seeing guys that maybe are coming off like they don't care that they're not doing their job. And the good thing is, it's the sign of a good team. That's a call out that doesn't happen that often in hockey. But to be having the team playing this well and still have guys like being, you know, responsible and being on their teammates, like that is what good teams have. They have accountability within the room. So as much as some people think it was out of line, I don't.
No, I was fortunate enough where like always had good leadership, where at a young age was taught, not really taught, but it's just like you lose and it's just like, there's no music in the locker room. Like, you shouldn't be putting a smile on your face. Like, after the game, I mean, Whit, I don't know about you, but when I was in junior, if we lost the game, there would be no movie on the bus. We wouldn't get to put the movie on, which sucked. You got
or how about the silent flights, even in pro? Oh, guess we got a silent flight again. Like, it's
and going back to the technology thing, is I didn't have a cell phone till I think, I never had a smartphone. I didn't have a cell phone till I was about 18 or 19 in playing junior. So you're sitting there 4-hour bus ride alone, just fucking chilling. And obviously I can't read, so I can't do anything. I just have to sit there in my thoughts, according to Butch Goring.
I don't want to be thinking your thought. Like, thinking of you just in your thoughts is scary.
Oof.
He's just like talking to himself. He's like, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? What do you mean? Oh, did you get the club set up? No, I didn't get the club set up. Like, who are you talking to, Biz? Myself.
Yeah. Just
my imaginary friend.
Worrying about hosing in a water bottle. Make sure I don't drink somebody's some spit bottle.
Did you see that?
That was actually with Colorado.
Rycroft.
Was that right?
Yeah, Rycroft. He was having a coffee, and it was to the right of him. And the other announcer, I'm drawing blanks on all the names today. My mind's going a million miles an hour. But
Nightmare
anyway,
City.
Yeah, and then he thought he was grabbing his coffee, and he grabbed the other guy's chew cup and down the hatch. That is brutal. I did that.
Does that ever happen to you guys?
Yeah,
happened to me
time
once.
in junior.
Me too. One time.
I'm one for one on that happening and puking. Like, I don't know how he didn't puke. It was an amazing recovery.
Yeah,
like you could tell he was close to throwing up, and he kind of like gathered himself. But I did it once.
Yeah, Keith was the other guy's name. And
the only other thing that compares to that is if you maybe take a swig of a water bottle and it's somebody put vodka in there, and it's more about what you're expecting.
How about a piss
to taste.
bottle?
Yeah.
I've not
cigarette beer can too. I've done that where people put their cigarettes out in a beer can and then you sip it. And
Fucking
It's the
Spalding
worst.
and Caddyshack.
Oh.
You're going to eat your fat. All right, before we go any further, here's a few words from our friends at Straight Talk Wireless. There's a new Straight Talk Wireless offering now available where you can get a Walmart Plus membership included on select Straight Talk Wireless plans for free. Only Straight Talk Wireless gives you unlimited data, talk, and text, plus a Walmart Plus membership included on select plans for free. You can't beat that. Anything for the donut is good stuff. Some of the perks of Walmart Plus through select Straight Talk Wireless plans are free delivery from Walmart stores, free shipping, no order minimum, Paramount Plus membership, member prices on fuel. You cannot get enough gas savings these days. Everybody knows that. So if you are in the market for a new wireless, hit it up. Straight Talk Wireless. And if you need a Walmart Plus membership, boom, 2 birds, 1 stone. Straight Talk Wireless is available at Walmart and walmart.com. A couple more Nate stats. He actually had 4 goals in that game. He's the first player in Avalanche history to score 4 in a game. The 5th in franchise history to score 300 goals after Sakic, Goulet, Peter Stastny, and Milan Hajduk. Also, he's the first player from the 2013 draft to score 300. So he keeps chugging right along. And who else has been chugging along this season? Former guest, one-time guest, Dylan Strome, leading the Caps with 13 goals. Out of his 13 goals, 8 of them have come in the third period or overtime. He's got 2 winners so far this year. The only other Capital with double-digit goals right now, Tom Wilson. But the Caps, man, we talked about it a few weeks ago. They're still fucking chugging along. 16, 6, and 3 the last 25. Even with Ovi struggles, no Backstrom, tons of youth on that team. They're still in the wild card 1 spot. And then Thursday, Ovi got off to Schneid, 6th goal of the year. He snapped a 14-game goalless streak. It was the longest of his career. He became just the 2nd player, along with Wayne Gretzky, to have 900 career goals in regular season and playoffs. His 135th game-winning goal passed Brett Hull for 2nd all-time after Jaromir Jagr. So, but the real thing, I think,
what was that
is
stat? He was the 900 goal regular season playoffs. What does that mean?
That means combining the regular season and playoff.
Okay,
yeah,
okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, not 900 with both, and only Wayne's had more. But I think the most exciting thing to talk about was a little mix-up in the cage. Elvis Merzlikins and Tom Wilson. I guess they had a little bit of a history. I sent you guys the GIF. I think Willie might have slew-footed him in the crease a couple of years ago. They got at it pretty good, man. He ended up getting the penalty. Probably cost Columbus the game. I don't think it's really going to affect their playoff match. But did you get a look at that live with the fucking Merzlikins fight?
I didn't know about their prior history. But I was kind of shocked because Wilson goes into the net, and then basically Merzlikins just he won't let him out of the net. He's kind of throwing shots at him, and you could tell Wilson is probably snapping inside his mind because he can't get up. He's trying to get up. He probably would have murdered him if he was able to get up, but he can't get up because Merzlikins in his face. He's holding him down, but it all led to, I would say, one of the best pictures I've ever seen in the Washington Capitals getting together, celebrating, and every guy from the team. And I guess it makes sense. They seem like a close team. I don't know how this team continues to win. Like, you look at the offensive production.
Worst power play in the league.
Leading scorer has 20 points. It's like I don't know how they're doing it, but I got to give them credit. I actually think a lot of credit goes to Charlie Lindgren, who's just been playing fantastic. And for a guy who's kind of been up and down his whole career, it just shows how crazy the goaltending position is. But that picture where it's 20 guys staring at him, and you can tell someone's yelling, everyone's yelling something different, and they're just giving it to him, and it just shows like they all got Wilson's back. And I mean, it was kind of a Bush League move by Merzlikins. Like, I guess with the history,
blocker sandwich?
Just, yeah, like all of a sudden he's attacking the guy as he's down in his net. And we've interviewed Merzlikins, very funny guy, pretty colorful dude that we really enjoyed having a chat with him. But I was kind of shocked because he had to be thinking, if this guy gets up, I'm dead. He's going to smash my face in. But in the end, the Caps get the last laugh, and you get this all-time classic picture out of it with Merzlikins skating away, shaking his head, and just an entire team chirping him. It was awesome.
Going back to the Avs quickly, is Mark Mosier. I forgot to say his name properly. The other guy is Kyle Keefe. So, but overall, I had this team making playoffs. They're an anomaly right now. They should be not in a playoff spot given how brutal their fucking power play's been. But I would say the 2 huge bright spots have been obviously the play of Dylan Strome, who I mean, fuck, they didn't want him in Arizona, went to Chicago. He ends up getting shipped out of there. And I mean, he's been one of their breakout stars, man. Between him and Tom Wilson, they're kind of carrying the team right now. And I don't know how much hockey of the Washington Capitals you've watched. And Army got shamed for on the broadcast saying, is this now Tom Wilson's team? But every shift out there, you see him, whether he's on the forecheck, whether he's back checking and making plays or putting the puck in the back of the net. I think he's been tremendous, especially coming off of a torn ACL. Like, that's not hard to recover from. I mean, you see what Svechnikov's kind of dealing with early in the season with the Carolina Hurricanes. So he's been a beast. And I just think 5-on-5, Carberry's got him all bought in. And there is a youth movement there. The other night, they had 9 first-rounders in the lineup for the Washington Capitals. 50% of their offense is coming from guys that are 27 and below. So, I mean, that seems to be where the league is at right now. But like you said, right now, Dylan Strome and Tom Wilson are the only players that are double digits in goals. It doesn't make sense how they're having success. Even if you look at Darcy Kemper's numbers, they're not overwhelming. So you mentioned Lindgren and what he's been able to do, but even still, man, it's just they continue to get the wins. They continue to get those. Even if they're losing, they're forcing overtime. So they're chipping away, and I don't know if they can sustain this with the lack of production from Kuznetsov. TJ Oshie, who's dealt with injuries over the last couple of years, who's been injured this year, is not producing like he once was. And then, of course, with the no Backstrom, it's going to be hard if these young guys don't continue to produce.
And last year, as the season went to the toilet, it kind of all went back to losing John Carlson. And with him back, that's another guy you got to mention. Just like such a calming force out there, can play a ton of minutes, great first pass, leader in the room, won a Stanley Cup. Like, he's kind of one of those guys that it makes sense last year everything fell apart without him. So him being there definitely has a big part of it. But the Kuznetsov thing's bizarre. For a guy that's that skilled, and I know, like, obviously he's a little older now, but he requested the trade. Who knows if they tried to? Who knows if anyone wanted him? But now he's still there. He's playing like shit. You know he doesn't want to be there. So it's like, it's pretty amazing that with the lack of production from Ovi, the lack of production from Kuznetsov and his unhappiness, and all of the other things that have gone into this team, like offensively being struggling as much as they have been, and they're still winning. So you got to shout out Lindgren and you got to shout out the guys that are getting the job done. But I'm kind of with you. Now, I've been bullish on them not being a playoff team all year, and I've continued to look foolish about it. But in my mind, I still think like there's got to be a time when this slows down. But another team I said that about is continuing to roll on, and that's the Philadelphia Flyers, because somehow they continue to do this.
Whip, before we get to that, I just want to mention the Capitals. Ivan Miroshnichenko.
Great story.
He was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma in February of 22. He got treatment, came to North America this season for his first pro season, was down the minors for a bit. He made his NHL debut Wednesday night, and they had a nice video of the coach, Spencer Carberry, telling him he was going to be in his first game. And I think one of the teammates there was translating for him. Just it reminded me of Hard Knocks, the football show, when except it wasn't the guy getting cut. It was being told he was going to play in the game. But for where he was a couple of years ago health-wise, it's just a nice story. I just wanted to share that as well.
It was Protas. Is that how you say his last name? The big beast, the 6'6", 225-pound giant.
Dude's a monster. Yeah,
it was that was such a cool moment. He had a couple cracks at scoring a goal too. He played well. He was all over the place. So just an amazing story.
Also, too, his 14-letter surname is tied for the longest ever in NHL history biz with John Brackenborough from the 25-26 Bruins. But his jersey, Miroshnichenko, it's now the record for the longest name on the back of an NHL jersey, because when that other guy played, they didn't have names on the back. So he's got the record for one name, not including the hyphenated names. Yeah, a little fucking goofy trivia.
That's a little fun fact for everybody.
The logo and fucking number shit.
From elbow to elbow.
Fucking savage. Yeah, with the Flyers, man. 7 of 8, they won points in 9th Street before Nashville cooled them off the other night. Friday in Detroit, what a game. They're down 5-1 after the first. They score 5 straight, go up 6-5, end up losing 7-6 via shootout. But, dude, second place in the Metro, 40 points. Carter Hart was out for a bit. He came back in. Samuel Urson was great subbing in for him. But this team, they just got kind of scoring up and down the lineup. They got grit everywhere. And I know everyone wears out the phrase, are the Flyers back? Is so-and-so back? Dude, this looks like the Flyers playing right now more than it has in, I'd say, the last 5 or 6 years, yeah?
Big time. I think Torts said maybe twice this year, like, we just got balls. This team has balls. And like, you watch the comeback in Detroit last night, Friday night, it makes sense. There's no quit in that room. Travis Konechny, like, he never stops coming at you, right? Like he's just a dog. He's just out there barking. He's in your face. He's forechecking. He's getting back in the play. He's just one of those players that you win with, and he's very offensively skilled too. So like when you have a work ethic like that, and then you're able to have the touch around the net, it makes sense that he's their leading scorer and he's playing this well. But Travis Sanheim is a guy we've brought up a few times this year. He shouldn't even be on the team if Torrey Krug was willing to go to Philadelphia. They had him dealt to St. Louis, and Krug says no, and now Sanheim's there, and he's lighting it up. I mean, like, he had 2 assists the game against Detroit. Beautiful shots from the point. They get tipped in. He's a great skater. He's huge, too. So defensively, he's got the long reach, but he's, like, really reaching his potential. And that's it's hard for somebody, I would think. It didn't happen to me in terms of like, yeah, you're traded. Oh, well, now the trade can't go through because somebody else didn't want to get traded. Well, now you're here. And a lot of guys, like, you take it personally, like, oh, this team didn't want me. Now I got to go to camp knowing they didn't want me. It's kind of hard to mentally get around that you know that the team you're going to play for and the coach you're going to play for didn't necessarily want you in the room. But, like, what a response by him. And also in terms of Torts, like, maybe they were going to trade him. Well, you're still here now. We're going to give you a chance to play. And he's kind of ran with that and becoming the number one defenseman there. On the back end, too, Cam York's a really good player, really good skater. He was a first-round pick a few years ago. He's kind of coming into his own. But, like, for me, the way I talk about John Carlson coming back after missing so much of last year and the Caps doing well, Couturier is kind of the straw that stirs the drink in Philly, I'd say. Like, he's been there so long. He's so good defensively. He's been up for a Selke. A guy that's like a coach is so confident having him on the ice, no matter if you're up a goal, down a goal, that like just to get him back, Atkinson's back. There's all these players who missed so much of last year that are making such a difference that it makes sense that they're doing this well. I felt bad for Carter Hart. You know, he didn't have his best stuff in Detroit, and then they mount this comeback. They take the lead, and he lets in, you know, what he would say is one of the worst goals he's ever let in. Larkin tied it from below the goal line in the corner. He just throws it, and just off his angle, it ends up going in, and Detroit ends up getting the win in OT. But it's been Tortorella kind of doing what he does, holding guys, making guys play a certain way. And if you're not going to do it, you're not going to play, and everyone's buying in. So I know I'm kind of just dropping names, but the kid Bobby Brink too.
Oh, yeah.
He's nice, dude. That's just another young guy that's getting a chance and running with it. So
they got Gauthier and Mitchkov too. Gauthier is probably the best player in college hockey this year.
Yeah. They do have prospects, which would make sense with how bad they've been. They should hopefully have some nice draft picks coming in. I just put it this way: if like I'm looking earlier in the year that Washington and Philly, this will end and this will come. Like I think Washington's much more likely to slow down than Philly is at this point. Now, obviously, it'll be the opposite because I just said that.
Yeah.
But Philly has some sort of mojo around their team right now. And Biz, you can mention the toughness they got. They got Delorier. They got Sealer. They got guys who will get in there and fight and be pricks.
Well, it's just they're like the Panthers. They're engaged every night emotionally. And that's what Torts does, right? He's got them firing. And it's hard, though. You go back to last year with the injuries with Couturier, and then who's the one who was with them in Atkinson, who like Atkinson played for him in Columbus. So you have these vets who are bought in. Well, everybody else has to fall in line, right? I don't think the culture was actually where it needed to be last year. You just touched on Carter Hart and how he had a tough performance, but he's finally playing like we saw in the rookie year, right? He's back to that status. So overall, they just have everybody pulling the rope. And sometimes these trades have to work out too. When they decided to part ways with Claude Giroux and send him to Florida, who'd they get back? Owen Tippett. The book wasn't out on him. He's having a great fucking year this year. So
and they have Florida's first round pick this year, Biz, because of that deal.
Correct. So I tweeted this out last night on on Saturday, or no, excuse me, Friday night when all the games were going on because the Jets look so good, and then obviously Vancouver is leading their division. Who would have thought? Those to me are the two biggest surprises in the league so far. You would have to throw Philadelphia in there as well, based on expectations coming in, probably even more so than Vancouver, because I think everybody saw Vancouver as maybe a bubble team, where I think that everybody had Philadelphia as a lottery pick team. Torts, in my opinion, through the start of the year, would probably be my nominee for Coach of the Year and how he has these guys bought in. It's a culture thing. He's got it all turned around, and this is all coaching, in my opinion. So I try to give my flowers to to the Jets and the Vancouver Canucks, and the Philadelphia faithful kept me accountable, and I'd have to agree with them. So it's fun to see. It's always a good time when one of those original franchises. I know they weren't an original 6 team, but going back to the Broad Street Bullies days, this is how they embody. This is how you embody the city, right? The fucking mucking it up, grinding it out, and fighting night in and night out to get the 2 points. So it's been fun to watch, and they deserve a massive tire pump.
I think that Torts is way better off having a team where people don't expect much.
Correct.
As opposed
Agreed.
to be coaching a team that
Agreed.
has enormous expectations, because he's going to be able to get these guys. And don't think for a second he's not telling guys in camp, like, people are saying you're going to be the worst fucking team in this league. Like challenging their pride in a sense. Whereas if he's coaching a team like Colorado, say, it'd probably be harder for him to get guys fired up and get guys to buy in when everyone's kind of pumping your tires as a team, as opposed to just ripping on you. So it's been incredible. And his work with Morgan Frost, who's a very talented player, and Torts has been hard on him. Well, he's kind of like reaching another level right now, and you got to give Torts credit. He's sat him down, he's benched him here and there, and all of a sudden now, like, after realizing this is how I have to play every night to be able to get minutes from this guy, he's kind of growing as a player. So we've been hard on Torts on this podcast in terms of his message going stale over the course of a few seasons, but in a situation like this, it's almost perfect for him. He challenges your pride, he makes you play a certain way, and he also knows that the way he needs him to play is the only chance they have of winning. So props to the Flyers, and I'd say that the same thing about Philly I said about Detroit earlier. The NHL is a better league when the Flyers are good. I said that about Detroit, and I think Philly's the same exact thing. Everyone, even if you hate the Flyers, you want them to be good. Their fans are nasty. The building gets rocking, and when they're struggling, it's a franchise that is so big on the national level that it kind of hurts the league a little bit when they're really down in the dumps. So them playing well is good.
Remember we went there last year for that game and how dead it was?
Oh,
it was one of the worst atmospheres I'd seen in the NHL and anytime experiencing a live game. So, guys, if we told you that this team would be able to accomplish what they've accomplished with their top D coming in, who is Travis Sanheim, you would have said, no, they're not sniffing playoffs.
That's the night we did cake fights with Gritty, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Holy fuck. Oh, by the way, Tortorella, what his odds were for Jack Adams beginning of the year?
200 to 1.
No,
I was going to say
high.
75 to 1.
50.
Oh.
50 to 1. A couple pesos on him. Big shocker.
Oh, shocker.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
How many
Yeah.
coaches?
How many coaches did I bet?
Yes.
I must have had something for the tees this year. I got Brunette at 33 to 1, Torts at 50, Talkett at 20, Turigny 33 to 1.
All right, those might be the 4 most likely guys right now.
Yeah. Good job. All right.
And then, hey, let's not get the cart in front of the horse. But I mean, you hit one of them, Biz.
You brought it up.
No, I mean, as far as talking like I already got a winner, that's all. No, I mean,
that was like last week when he said, care to elaborate? It's like, I literally just talked for 3 fucking minutes.
I know.
Well, I don't know where you were, but
I was cutting and pasting.
Yeah. No worries.
Before we go any further, guys, we need to talk about Manscaped. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is here, and let me tell you, it's got futuristic tendencies. Yes, I barely could say futuristic, but the tendencies are legit with the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. Included in this bundle is the brand new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, the Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer, and the essential aftercare products like the Crop Soother Ball Aftershave Lotion and Crop Preserve Anti-Chafing Ball Deodorant, and 2 free gifts. Their 5th generation lawnmower features 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. Did I mention that it's waterproof too? Yup, if you're going to take care of the manly needs with your manscaping in the shower, all of a sudden this thing can get wet, no problem. Manscaped also threw in 2 free gifts, the Boxers 2.0 and the Shed 2.0 toiletry bag. Resolutions may come and go, but a well-groomed you is here to stay with Manscaped's latest and greatest. Start the new year right. because when you look good, you feel good. Manscaped, helping you sculpt the best version of yourself for the year ahead. New year, new you, and definitely a new trimmer. Manscaped's got your grooming resolutions covered. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code Chiclets at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code Chiclets. Happy New Year to your ball bag, baby.
Oh, we just mentioned the Red Wings. David Perron had his 6-game suspension affirmed by Gary Bettman, which basically means like your appeal's no good. So that was the bat signal to Alan Walsh. He then tweeted out, after Gary rubber stamps the Paros Kangaroo Court with a nonsensical, illogical opinion, expect David Perron to appeal to the neutral arbitrator. We expect to finally get a fair hearing and look forward to presenting the case. So I guess there is one more appeal you can go after. Gary Bettman, because he started to remind me of Goodell a little bit, huh? Like Bettman, kind of like the whatever he says goes type thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why it doesn't just go directly to the arbitrator, right? Because obviously you would never see Gary Bettman just go right against George Paros. I mean, that would make no sense to me. And when you look at like the league standing as one, obviously I think that it's a no-brainer that Bettman upholds the suspension. So then it goes to somebody else. It's like, why don't you just skip the step that where you know what's going to end up happening out of that? So I don't know what'll happen. I mean, obviously now he missed the 6 games, so you're just looking to get some money back. So it only changes his financial statement a little bit. I thought the suspension, I mean, it was a cross-check to the head. I mean, I think 6 games in the end was probably correct. I know at the time I was saying it was the right move and his wires crossed and it wasn't even the right guy, but it was just a moment of kind of losing your mind a little bit on the ice, seeing your captain laying down. But I don't know what an independent arbitrator would look at and maybe change. So I guess the system's broken in a sense of it should just skip Bettman. Bettman's never going to go against what Paros said. And I think he has in the past in really long suspensions. Somebody got like 20 games and ended up turning into 15 after they served the 20 games.
Weidman.
Dennis Weidman,
exactly. Yeah.
So maybe you just go to the independent guy off the get-go, but the league probably doesn't want to do that because there's probably a better chance a guy's able to come back a little sooner. I think they like the fact that it's just money-wise because they'll always end up kind of having it all figured out once the suspension's already been served.
Keep it rigged. There were reports coming out last week that Nolan Patrick, who was taken 2nd overall by Philly back in 2017, that he retired from the game. Turned out to be not accurate. I guess a program he works with listed him as a retired NHL player on their roster there. It was later changed, though. Elliot Friedman said, reached out to Patrick today. He politely declined to talk, but did text to say he's not officially retired. It's clear that he prefers to stay under the radar. 25-year-old is currently unrestricted free agent. I don't know what the future holds for this kid, but either way, it's been a star-crossed few years. You just feel awful for this kid taking that high. The head knocks early on in his career. He just couldn't seem to get on track, obviously, with multiple concussions. And I don't know. I don't know, Biz. Do you think maybe 2-3 years we'll see this kid, or is he just trying to keep his options open? Either way, it's tough news, I think. Kid this year.
I mean, you pretty much said it all. It's horrible, man. Especially a guy so young. You have so much life ahead of you too. I mean, but in that same breath, it's like your health matters more than playing the game you love if it's going to cause that much pain and damage to you. So I hope he makes a return, man. And there's a lot of advancements in getting guys back neurologically. I mean, remember when Sid went through it and then they ended up figuring out it was more of like a neck issue and how maybe it wasn't supplying as much oxygen to the brain or blood flow. So hopefully he could find the help he needs with all the available resources, and hopefully the league is able to also provide some of those as well. So it would be a great story.
Yeah. I feel so bad for him, RA.
Yeah.
Like being that high of a pick, he was incredible in the WHL. I think he was MVP of the playoffs one season and had all this promise, and then injuries are just such a motherfucker, dude. And like we've talked a lot about what it can do to your mind, and just to see him have to go through all that, it sucks. And Riley Cote has a podcast with Nasty, Derek Settlemeyer, who's the old equipment manager in Philly. And I saw a little social media post, and he was talking about him, saying how good of a kid he was, and saying that when he was healthy, dude, his hands and his skill were next level. He could also fly. Like, he was going to be a special player. And with him saying he's not retired yet, you hold out hope that he could find it again, but more than likely he probably can't, and it might be over for him. And it just makes you feel so sad for a kid who worked that hard, to become that high of a pick, to make his dream come true and become an NHLer, and to have injuries rip it all away. So just hearing from Nasty and hearing, up close and personal how good of a person he was and how crazy skilled he was on the ice, you kind of robbed as a Flyers fan of seeing a possible stud, just get torn down by injuries. And so having injuries ended my career a lot later, luckily. My heart goes out to the kid and hopes he could find peace with whatever happens.
So I watched a piece, I want to say it was on TSN a few years back, where a younger player was dealing with this type of thing with the concussions. And sometimes all it is like a reset, where he ended up going to, I want to say it was the University of Michigan. And what they did was they set him up, and originally it was just with him doing ping pongs, like hitting ping pongs back, and they would kept sending him over to the point
I would have ended his career then. He didn't want to play against me.
Then they would get him on like a balance thing. So he would have to worry about his balance while doing the ping pong. And what it did was it like slowly programmed him to get all his like brain wires firing again. I'm doing a horrible job of breaking this down, but
he could have just flossed.
Or he could, for fuck's sake.
Oh, God. Back to the floss. Either way, we wish him the best, whatever he ends up doing in the future. So,
did you guys never see this piece that I'm talking about?
No, I didn't. But Biz, I think he had like core injuries. He had an injury with his core, so I'm sure mainly it's the head stuff. But I never saw that.
Yeah, it was pretty cool how they developed like a program in order to hit the reset button on the brain. Sometimes that's all it needs is a reset button.
Well, how about, the craziest head injury recovery stuff we've heard, I think, is Okposo telling us in that interview we did with him prior to last year about how remember the doctor had his finger at the roof of his mouth and the pain he was going through, but it all ended up helping him get better. So there's so many different insane ways to, I guess, to get your brain and your mind healthy again. And even Sid, everyone thought it was a concussion. It was more a neck injury. It's just, there's so much stuff that could be done. But I haven't
we've just talked about 5 of them. We talked about flossing, the ping pongs, the Sid with the neck stuff, the going in there with the pushing of the top of the roof of the mouth. So there you go. There's just not one answer. So hopefully he finds whatever it is, if it is in fact his head that's what's holding him back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy when Kyle told that story, just like a magic button there or something. What you did mention, the Jets earlier, they did dummy the Bees Friday 5-1, points in 9 of 10. They're in an 8-1-1 stretch. They're back in first place in the Central, at least for another day. Big pot, this Gabe Velati they picked up in the PLD trade. He's been absolutely on fire since joining Nick Ehlers and Scheifele on the top line. He's got 12 points in 6 games. He's got at least 1 goal his last 5 games. All his assists are primary on this line. 30 shots on goal. There's sometimes just chemistry comes out of nowhere. You wonder why it might not have happened in camp. But this line, 5-on-5, outscored the opposition 10-2, outshooting them basically 2-1. And then Connor Hellebuck has been incredible this month. 6-0-1, a 1.86 goals against, 9.34 save percentage. Winnipeg's fucking another team that's back and kicking ass with. I know you want to talk about them a little bit here.
Deep is, and one of the coolest stories of the NHL season so far, considering like personally how I talked about him and how a lot of the league was talking about where's Scheifele going to get traded, where's Hellebuck going to get traded. Boom, they both signed right before the year. And I think when that news broke, we might have been recording. I think G came in with a breaking news report of those guys re-signing, and we kind of said like maybe this just gets everyone together. Like this is the thing this team needed. Like these guys are willing to be here, they want to be here, they're signing. Now all of a sudden we can kind of go together the same way like Torts is having Philly say everyone says you guys are going to suck. Like there had to be some minds on this team thinking like we have to just prove every single person wrong this year. And they dealt with fans not maybe showing up as much as they'd hoped at the beginning of the season. That barn last night, Friday night,
biggest crowd of the season.
Oh, that place was rocking. And Biz, you say depth, like we talk about Pittsburgh and what's lacking in Pittsburgh. Oh, they can't get bottom 6 scoring. Last night I watched the third line in Winnipeg. Lowry, Appleton, and Niederreiter. It's like, dude, they're coming at you. Like, what a captain decision to give that to Adam Lowry. A lot of times you see the best player become the captain, right? Like, he's not the best player on the team. He's probably the toughest player on the team, but he's responsible. He's a leader. He sticks up for teammates. He's hard as shit to play against. It's like, that's the perfect captain choice for that team. And then the top line, like, this trade and Dubois, it's kind of hard to chirp Dubois. His offense is not there right now. He's playing with two young wingers. He's playing on the third line because of what they have.
He's got 4 points in his last 15 games.
I know,
and
but
listen, we don't want to hop over quite yet, but eye test, man, like he's struggling right now.
He's struggling, and like you do have to give credit where it's Kopitar and Deneau, and they're the 1 and 2 centers. So he's playing on the third line. He's probably not getting the offensive minutes, the offensive zone starts that he necessarily wants. But I look at this trade right now, and like Velarde, he's the one that's making it really one-sided for the Jets, I think. Now LA's playing amazing hockey, at least on the road they are. So it's hard to say it's like a complete lose for the Kings because Dubois could get going. He could be a monster in the playoffs. So there's a lot of things that have to happen before this trade is like finally, sealed. I guess you can look at like who won, but Iafallo's a solid player. He's playing with Nemestikov, who you talked about 4 seasons ago as the biggest deadline move. I don't know if you remember.
He's a gamer.
On Sportsnet, you were talking about.
You guys laughed at me. You asked me if I got into RA Shrooms, and I think he had 4 goals in the first round of that playoffs.
He played awesome. So, and then the other guy is Perfetti. Perfetti is like getting that chance, high pick. He looks phenomenal, but they have depth. They roll 4 lines. And then last night, Morrissey made some plays. He scored a goal, which he continues to do. The past 2 seasons, this offensive explosion we've talked about. But also, I think one time, whether it was Pasta or Marchand fired one cross ice, it looked like it was going to be a great one-timer for whoever was getting it. And he just stepped in. He read the play perfectly. He's immediately buzzing up ice, creating an offensive chance. So it's like they have everything going together at once. And like I said at the beginning, they've battled adversity. They lost Rick Bowness for a while. They stepped up in that. He comes back. They continue to win. And like any good team, and it goes to show any bad team, they usually don't have goaltending. This team has Hellebuck. He's playing incredible. He just re-signed there. Everything's kind of coming up Jets, and they deserve it because it's a team that probably doesn't get mentioned enough by us, definitely, and around the league. You don't hear a lot about them, but like with their play, and it's impossible not to talk about them. And once again, I got to shout out Army saying that they were going to win this division. We all looked at him like he was crazy, and right now it looks like that could happen.
Yeah.
They don't even have Connor right now.
No, I know. They just play so well as a team. And I was watching their broadcasts the other day, and they were just talking about how like one line after the other, they leave the next line in a good spot. They don't stretch out shifts where if they're in the offensive zone for a minute 10, minute 15 seconds, they're not trying to extend it to maybe get the cookie themselves, where they'll do that offensive zone change. I kept talking about one of the best cycling teams in the league, a lost art. Remember back in, what was it, like early
Hitchcock.
2000s where Hitchcock, it's all cycle. They fucking cycle the puck. They got some big guys. You mentioned Lowry being one of the toughest guys on the team. I think that Dylan as well. Like there was somebody who got lit up the other game, and he was first guy there challenging. I think it was someone from the Detroit Red Wings. I forget who he was trying to go after, but so they have that perfect mix of skill, hard work. Everybody's bought in, coaching and team toughness along with the goaltending, and it's a great story right now. And I called out that fan base early in the year for not supporting that good play. Well, now they've came out in droves. I think they're selling out every game, and those guys deserve it. I tweeted out, I got a lot of hate. This team could win the cup. Why not? We keep talking. I mean,
with Colorado, a goalie like that, dude. Yes,
a goalie like that with an underappreciated back end and with 4 lines that are fucking willing to work and play for each other. It's Velarde's popping off at the perfect time right now, and he's making Chevel Dayoff also needs a ton of credit because it's not easy to fucking get guys to buy in and commit and stay there. Well, he's got a group that's willing to do so.
I think right now he's the favorite for the GM of the Year award. I don't know the name of that award, but with what he did right before the season, like all the question marks and what they've done, and Scheifele, like you have number 1 centers around the league who are just point producers and can get it done. Like this guy just plays 200-foot hockey. Like in his own zone, there's no cheating. And I bet you a lot of that has to do with all the work he does with Adam Oates and all the clips he's watching, defensive play, body position. But there's no cheating in his game. And I think it kind of leaks down the rest of the lineup. Like nobody's going to be on the wrong side of the puck on that team. And a sign of a good team is when they can get cycling and they can get changes while still holding on to the puck. I see the Jets doing that all the time. They're cycling down low. They're holding the puck. They get a winger to change. New guy got on. They're able to switch a whole line and never even lose control in the offensive zone. And then the crowd gets buzzing, and the Bruins, they felt it on Friday night. It was a shit kicking.
This is a Jets bag-licking account, mind you, but I found this to be an interesting tweet. They've turned Kopp, Dubois, guy who didn't want to be there in a sixth, into Velarde, Iafallo, Barron, Kupari, Lambert, Salamonson, Zilic, Milik, a second, and all while not tanking. Now, you're probably some of those names you don't recognize. Well, they haven't been able to make their impact yet. Some of the guys that aren't there anymore, but Cheveldayoff deserve, and staff, of course, because you can't do it alone, deserve so much fucking credit for keeping a team that's very difficult to keep guys around by keeping them relevant.
They extended their own record. They've held opponents to 3 goals or fewer in 22 straight games. Pretty impressive stuff, too.
That's crazy. So imagine just taking the other team's total under all these games, how much dough you'd have. Yeah. So that's just a shout out to team defense and goaltending.
Right away.
We'd be remiss now that you're talking unders and betting to not shut out Elio and the Iceman with one of the craziest wins on Friday night, where a goal was scored with 0.01 seconds on the clock. It was the New York Rangers to push the over to 7. And he's been on an absolute heater ever since going on Game Notes 2 weeks ago. He started off the season on fuego, dipped a little bit. He was at the point where he was going to retire from gambling. He goes on Game Notes to make his retirement pick, and ever since he has been scorched earth.
The best part about that was, like, forget the 0.1 second goal, meaningless by the Rangers to make it 4-3 and hit the over. It was 1-0 at the start of the third period. The Rangers were winning, and all of a sudden it's 4-1 Edmonton, and the Rangers get these 2 late ones, including this miraculous cover. I saw him tweet a picture of the miracle at MSG, December 22nd, 2023, with his face with the sunglasses on. So this, as all his celebration, this. So he's just the over king.
If you're a big hockey gambler, you got to follow Mr. Ice on Instagram, Twitter. He'll give you great picks.
Third time this season that a goal's been scored with at 0.1 seconds left to affect either the over/under or the spread.
No
Pretty
shit.
Crazy. Yeah. Third time this year. Yeah.
Ouch.
His record is 106, 70, and 9 in the last year. Like, that's for gambling, dude. That's incredible.
Not
so
What do you
Yeah.
call the magazine in Back to the Future?
Oh, the
You got
sports
the
almanac.
Almanac?
the dream. What'd you call it?
Is it an Almanac?
Malmac, that's where Alf's from. I
Isn't
killed
it
me,
called
Willie.
like what's it called?
Yeah, it's sports
Say it
almanac.
again,
Sports
say it
almanac,
again.
Yeah.
Almanac.
Malmac. I
Guys,
killed
remember,
Willie.
French is his first language. Butch, don't
I
be
speak
too hard
two
on him.
fucking.
Don't
Everybody
be hard on him,
laughing at
Butch.
the radio right now. I speak 2 languages.
Parlez-vous.
I've always said that to everyone, Butch,
Franglish.
he should lay off you.
Wait, I heard you mention Adam Oates a few minutes ago, but there's another guy who can pass the puck pretty well. I think we should probably send it over to him right now, Mr. Wayne Gretzky, part 2 of the Spittin Chiclets trilogy. Merry Christmas and enjoy.
This interview is brought to you by Chevy. The Chevy EV, man, I'll tell you right now, Grinelli needs a new car. We've been saying this. I don't know why he hasn't pulled the trigger on a Chevy EV, but Chevy has convenient ways to research and shop electrical vehicles online. When researching, utilize Chevy My Way. Vehicle specialists and hosts give a virtual tour and help answer any of your questions. And when you're ready, you're able to buy online by reviewing available EV inventory or build your own at participating dealers. You can do as much or as little of the buying process online with help from a participating dealer. You can configure finance and lease payments, apply for credit, upload documents, and finalize your purchase through our secure checkout process. And you can even schedule vehicle delivery. That, to me, is the biggest one. Just knowing when your truck's coming, waiting outside just like a little kid, and all of a sudden your new Chevy EV's pulling up the driveway, guy hands over the keys, you got your Chevy app downloaded, and away you go. If you'd prefer to purchase the traditional way in person, their nationwide dealers network is available to help as well. Everything with Chevy EV is easy. Whether it's charging in the 100,000 charging stations available and counting across North America, whether it's able to purchase online, build your own truck online, it is all so simple because of Chevy. Learn more at chevy.com/electric. That's chevy.com/electric. Come on, G, get involved. Get your Chevy EV now.
Wayne. We're fired up, buddy. We are fired up. Round 2. We didn't even scratch the surface the first time we had you on. And actually, it just so happens that this podcast was supposed to drop on December 26th, which was a Tuesday. We said, why not bump it up to the 25th, drop a surprise episode with Wayne Gretzky on Christmas Day, considering the best Christmas gift I ever got was the Gretzky aluminum hockey stick, which, by the way, lasted me probably 7 years, how durable that stick was.
Well, I got a Gordie Howe jersey. That was the best Christmas gift I ever got. So you and I are even, right? No, my mom and dad brought me out this when I was 5 years old, Gordie Howe jersey, and I thought, okay, I've died and gone to heaven. It was the greatest gift I could ever get. So I feel your pain.
No, buddy, it was amazing. Actually, my mom hid it underneath my couch in the living room, or her couch, I guess, and all the gifts were done being unwrapped. And then my mom's like, well, what's that extra? Is that something sticking out there? And I was like,
It's like Ralphie getting the BB gun.
Buddy,
Same thing.
It was insane. And then my dad snapped the perfect picture. I had the biggest smile on my face, and I was just unwrapping.
But isn't it so cool when you're a kid what you want? Like, I didn't want like toys, or I didn't want anything. I didn't want for nothing. You just give me a Gordie Howe jersey and I'd be so happy. And for you, all you wanted was a hockey stick, right? Isn't that cool? That's so Canadian. But isn't it so Canadian? That's all we wanted.
Absolutely.
We weren't asking for the world. We weren't asking for a new car, or we just wanted something that would really entice us and really make us feel good about what we believe in and what we love. And for me, it was a Gordie Howe jersey. For you, it was a Wayne Gretzky hockey stick. That's what makes Christmas, right?
Yeah.
And you can't make it up. No. And so I'm so fortunate. I got 5 healthy kids, 5 beautiful, healthy grandchildren, and they don't want for anything. They just love having family around, right? And that's what life is all about.
I love how you tied it back to not only family, but also Gordie Howe. And I think going back to the last time we had you on, at the end, that story you told about how everyone maybe thought it was Janet who was enticing me to go to LA, but Walter always being 5 steps ahead after knowing that you were going to be traded, he was the one who said, Gordie Howe was in Detroit, and you're never going to be Gordie. Why don't you go to LA and set your own path? And it just, in my opinion, it kind of set the foundation for hockey growing in Southern America, or Southern United States, excuse me. And I think it was probably the craziest story that we heard on that podcast.
Yeah, isn't it funny that my dad made $30,000 a year his whole life, and he was so happy to work for Bell Telephone, and he was very proud of it. He was a wonderful blue-collar guy. And when I said, okay, I got a chance to go to Philadelphia, New York, LA, or Detroit, and he said, are you out of your mind? You should go to LA. There's only one Gordie Howe in Detroit. You should be in LA. Do something different. Do something unique. And why don't you be a trailblazer? And I said, okay, that sounds good. And then poor Janet, she took all the heat that everybody wanted. Janet wanted me in LA. That had nothing to do with it. It was totally my dad who said, Janet actually said, you should go to Detroit. And I'm like, okay, we'll go to Detroit. My dad said, you're out of your mind. You're going to LA. And I said, okay, I guess I'm going to LA.
You want a little sunshine.
You still listen to your dad, right?
Oh, yeah.
At the end of the day, you always listen to your dad.
Absolutely.
So I ended up in LA. And you know what? It was the greatest thing that ever happened to me in my life. I hated leaving Edmonton. And I always tell people this story. When I played against the Edmonton Oilers, I hated every minute of it. I hated playing in Edmonton. I didn't like it. I loved every minute that I played in Edmonton. I loved the fans. They were so good to me. The people were so great to me. And I knew they had to boo me. And it just really hurt my feelings that they had to boo me in Edmonton, because I knew they didn't really want to, but they had to because I was the enemy, right? And that's okay. But I hated playing against the Edmonton Oilers. That was the worst thing that ever happened of that trade, was I had to play against the Edmonton Oilers.
How many games did that last? Just the first one, and after that?
Every game.
Every time you came
Even
back?
when I played for the New York Rangers and I played in Edmonton, I didn't like it. I always felt like, you know what? Deep down, somewhere inside of me, I'm an Oiler.
Yeah.
And, I started there in 1978, and I started with Sparky Kelchinski was a trainer. Barry Stafford was a trainer. Joey Moss, Glenn Sather. And it was just hard for me to ever play there because those people were my people. Everything I have in my life I owe to them because they made me the player I became. And it was so hard for me to play there. It was so difficult. And I just really never enjoyed being an opponent of the Edmonton Oilers. It was just always felt that way.
I think it's once a month you remind me, hey, if you're ever talking about Edmonton or to anyone from Edmonton, tell them I love it and the people there are what makes it so special.
But what was unique about it was I would go out for dinner. I would go out for a couple of beers. Nobody ever bothered me. People were so nice to me. They were like, you know what, we love you in Edmonton. So Mark Messier was from Edmonton, right? So the mantra was Mark Messier was Edmonton's son, and I was the adopted son. Uh-huh. And so we got treated so well there. You can't imagine how nice the people were to us. And I always say to people, if you ever go to Canada, if you ever go to Edmonton, the people are so nice. And you got to go there this summer. They're so nice, and they're so respectful, and they're so polite. I hated being an opponent of them because I loved it there so much, and it was hard for me.
Well, and I was just gonna say it was all you knew at that point, and then obviously the trade goes down. Like, how was it getting acclimated there? Like, who did you get put in touch with first? Who made it a soft landing? And
no. So I was staying. Jen and I were staying with Alan Thicke. Remember Alan Thicke?
Yeah,
he was a wonderful man. He was one of my best friends in life. And we were staying at his house for a week. And Craig Simpson, who I played with, we just won the Stanley Cup. He was coming down for a week to stay with us. And I said, Craig, you're not going to believe this. He was one of the first people who knew I was getting traded. I said, Craig, I'm getting traded out of Edmonton. He goes, you're out of your mind. I go, no, I'm telling you the truth. So we're at Alan Thicke's house. And Alan Thicke says to me, are you sure you want to go through this? Because Alan Thicke was the biggest hockey fan in the world and loved hockey. And I go, well, I think it's out of my hands. I think I'm getting traded. And so Janet was like 7 months pregnant or 6 months pregnant. And I got a phone call and said, you're flying to Edmonton tomorrow morning. The deal's happening. And I went, oh my gosh. And I'm at Alan Thicke's house. And I said, Alan, I'm flying tomorrow morning to Edmonton, and this deal's going down. I'm getting traded. But you know what? In hindsight, when we look at it, it was really good for hockey. I remember my first game I played in LA. There were 6,000 people at the game.
I was going to ask you about the crowds.
Yeah. And I remember thinking, oh, wow, what have you got yourself into here? This is not going to be good. Because in Edmonton, 19,500 people every game, right? My first game in LA was 6,500 people. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I remember distinctly, we were in Van Nuys and we were driving by these tennis courts. And I said to my wife, I said, you know, these tennis courts in Canada, every kid would be playing ball hockey, inline hockey was just starting. This would be like hockey here. And I said, oh, we got a lot of work to do here. And 2 years later, we went by the same park and there was a big sign on the fence that said, no inline hockey allowed. And I said, okay, hockey's come here.
That's awesome.
We've come a long way.
Yeah.
No, I had chills up my back of my spine. I was like, okay, we've come a long way.
When you got to LA, you mentioned there wasn't a huge crowd at the beginning. Was it hard for you? Like your heart a little still in Edmonton, or were you already all bought into the Kings and really light? Or was it tough the first few games?
No, it was really tough. But my heart was always in Edmonton. But I bought into it and I got lucky because I got Kelly Rudy, Luc Robitaille, Martin McSorley, Bernie Nichols, and those guys, we all understood. So when I got there, there was 4 high school hockey teams. And in 2 years, there was 124 high school hockey teams. And those guys, it wasn't just Wayne Gretzky. Those guys went out and promoted hockey and did so much stuff. And then I got really lucky. Brett Hull was in St. Louis, and Brett Hull was a superstar. Yzerman was in Detroit, and he was special. Mario Lemieux was in Pittsburgh, and he was special. And Mark Messier then got traded to New York. So between all of us, we all understood not only what we had to do for the game and be part of the game, but to sell the game, right? So I got lucky. I rode a wave. It wasn't just Wayne Gretzky. I rode a wave with everyone. So, hey, listen, I feel fortunate. And then on top of that, Michael Eisner used to sit with Janet at every game in LA with Larry Bruckheimer. And Michael Eisner said, I'm doing this hockey movie, Mighty Ducks. And I remember at dinner when I go, Mighty Ducks, that sounds so silly. Like, who's going to do a Mighty Ducks movie, right? Doesn't it sound silly?
I mean, yeah.
And then he said to me one night, he goes, I'm going to have an NHL team called the Mighty Ducks. And I went, okay, this doesn't make any sense at all. And he brought in the Anaheim Ducks. And then there was a guy named George Gund, and people don't know who George Gund is, but he owned the Minnesota North Stars, and he moved and created a franchise in San Jose. So now you got San Jose, Anaheim, and LA, and all of a sudden, everybody starts going, wow, this is pretty cool. We got hockey on the West Coast. And that's how it all developed. It was George Gund, Michael Eisner, Bruce McNall. Those three gentlemen created hockey on the West Coast. And now I was watching Moore play last night for the LA Kings, and he's from Thousand Oaks, where my kids all grew up, where I lived for 30 years.
He's a heck of a player, too.
No, he's unreal.
Unreal.
So I'm watching him play last night, and I said to Janet, Janet, this kid's from where we grew up. Or all our kids grew up, and she was like, that kid is? I go, yeah, and he's really good. Yeah. So you know what? Hockey's come a long way. Good for them.
So I think when you told the story originally about maybe going to Vancouver, I think that you mentioned that they offered you also a chunk of the team.
Yeah, 25%.
Oh, Jesus.
How dumb am I? No. I talk to Nelson Skalbany all the time, right? I text him yesterday because we're good friends, and he changed my life. He signed me when I was 17 years old, and I still stay in touch with him. And I have a great deal of respect for people in life, and I love the man dearly. And I texted him yesterday, and, you know, he changed my life. And he called me the 7 a.m. when we won the Stanley Cup and said, I'm going to buy the Vancouver Canucks. I'll give you 25% ownership of the team and $3 million a year. Now, the highest paid player in hockey was me at that time, was $800,000 Canadian.
Oh, that's a nice raise.
I know. And I, how dumb am I? And I was like, you know what, Mr. Skalbany, I love you to death, but it's not going to work for me. But no, how dumb am I?
Oh my God.
And my wife still says to me, you're really dumb. No, I'm kidding.
Is there truth to the rumor that you also were offered part of the Mighty Ducks too?
No, to be in the movie.
Okay, all right, never mind. I thought maybe we were talking about
No. I got offered to be in the movie.
Okay.
And Mr. Eisner said, will you do this for me as a favor?
Okay.
So I did it. I said, I don't want to act. Because one of the things about playing in LA, you get offered roles, right? Yeah. And I didn't want to act.
What do you mean? You were unreal in the roles that you had.
Young and the Restless, right?
Young and the Restless.
No, that was really fun. The only thing I would tell you this. So, Saturday Night Live called me and said, will you host Saturday Night Live? I said, there's no way. I said, I can't do that. So I get on this private airplane and I'm flying to the Kentucky Derby, and I'm reading the USA Today, and it says Wayne Gretzky is going to host Saturday Night Live. And I had the paper like this, and I pulled it down and looked at my wife, and I said, you didn't. She goes, you're going to love me forever that I told them you would host. So I hosted
she did it.
She did it. She called him back, said he's going to host. No, I will tell you this. So Mike Myers, who was so nice, him and Dana Carvey and a guy named Phil Hartman, who unfortunately passed away.
Yeah, he was the best.
Now, Phil Hartman's from my hometown, which people don't know.
No way.
He's from Brantford?
He's from Brantford, Ontario.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I was so nervous. I was like you the first game you did.
Oh, TNT?
TNT.
Oh, I was shitting bricks.
I know.
I was shitting bricks.
But I know the feeling.
Oh, yeah.
And no. And I'm like, Janet, you couldn't do this to me. She goes, you're going to thank me when you're done. And when I did it, it was so cool. And I was like on cloud 9 at 1:30 in the morning, because it goes from 11:30 to 1, and then they do an afters party, right? At 6 a.m. we're walking around. I'm like, she's like, I told you you'd love this. I said, yeah, it's pretty cool. But I got lucky. Those guys were so good to me. They carried me. I did nothing. They just kept saying to me, just read the thing. I said, okay.
Didn't you mention like the prep for it where you had to be there for a couple days, full days?
So you get there Tuesday to take the picture, to do that picture that they show. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday's rehearsals. And then you do a dress rehearsal, 8 o'clock to 10:30 on Saturday night. And then you get a break and then you do the show. And I'm like, oh my God, this. And I had to sing. So you know me. You got me on a tangerine.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Biz asked me the other day, will you do, we're going to do this musical special. Will you do? And I go, yeah, I'll play the triangle.
Yeah.
The cowbell guy.
I was at a studio with David Foster and I can't remember who it was, a singer. And he goes, I can make anybody sound good. I go, David, I can't sing. I'm tone deaf. I was out there 3 seconds and he said, I can't make you sound good. I got bumped.
Yeah,
it was with Kenny Loggins. And he goes, you're off, get off.
That was one of the questions I was going to ask you, because you moved over to LA and you were going to carve out this new path and try to grow hockey in the southern United States. Did you feel a little bit of pressure to get more involved, whether it was with like SNL or photo shoots or advertising? Nothing?
Not at all.
Just play hockey.
I just, you know what? Whit's got it down. I just wanted to win, right? I said, if we win and we're good, people will come. It's like if you build it, they'll come. I just wanted to play hockey. I had no interest. Like I got offered every TV show there was to be a guest appearance, but I had no interest in it. And I'd be like, you know what? I want to play hockey. And I love, this is a great question for you guys, okay? You guys are asking me all the questions. Do you know who sang the national anthem my first game in LA?
Hopefully not Carl Lewis.
Dolly Parton?
No.
That's a good guess, though, no?
No.
Goldie
That's
Hawn?
really Roy Orbison.
No way.
Sang the national anthem at my first game
shit.
with the LA Kings, which people don't realize or think about. And my wife grabbed me after the game and said, you have to meet Roy. And I was so excited to meet him. And her and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. So how cool is that? So Roy Orbison sang the first national anthem I played in LA. And Bryan Adams sang my last national anthem I played in New York. I called him. I said, Brian, it's my last game. Will you sing the national anthem? And he said, of course. So I had Roy Orbison sing my first national anthem in LA. And Bryan Adams sang my last national anthem.
Why Bryan Adams? Like the summer
Canadian.
16. Well, I know he's Canadian.
So
but
I've known Bryan since he was 17.
Okay.
So we're friends from way back. I did his Walk of Fame.
Connor's got Nickelback, and then you have Bryan Adams, right? So everybody.
Well, I did Nickelback's.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
He handed the torch.
I'm still ahead of Connor. Connor hasn't been in the video yet.
Yeah,
right?
that's the Rockstar music video where you take.
There you go. Yeah.
I didn't realize that was your
Janet
place.
directed it.
No
Janet was
shit.
like, I had these clothes on, and she goes, "What are you wearing?" And I go, "Well, I'm doing this video." She goes, "You're not wearing that." She redressed me. So your wife always has control, right?
You did mention one of the more controversial things you said was,
"Oh my God, what I do now?"
No, you said it last podcast, and when you went to LA, one thing you wanted to do is you talked about maybe eliminating fighting from the game.
I did.
To change the mindset of.
No. I didn't say my theory was the thought of the people in the United States was it was a goon sport, and I hated hearing. We went to a boxing match and a hockey game broke out, or I hated that, right? And I'm like, okay, fighting's part of the game, but we don't need to make it the central part of the game. So that was my point. And I give the commissioner so much credit in the sense that Canadians love fighting in hockey, right? That's what we grew up with, right? So Canadians think, oh, you play hockey, you got to fight. So he never got rid of fighting in hockey. What he did was he left it alone. Now these kids at Bantam and Midget, like when you play Bantam and Midget, you fought. They don't fight now. And they play junior or college, they don't fight. So when they get to the NHL, they've never fought. So you see a fight every now and then. Okay, that's part of it. Okay, I can live with that. The brawls and all that went with that, we don't need that. That's gone. That's out of hockey. And I give the commissioner credit that he quietly sort of eliminated fighting out of hockey. But it's still part of it.
Yeah.
Listen.
No, I think it's in a great place.
Yeah, I do too.
I was.
If you're gonna fight, you're gonna fight.
I was coming in at the end of the knuckle dragger. What do you call it? Knuckle dragger era. Like AHL, I fought back to back 30 fight seasons where like
You don't need that.
No,
That doesn't
my
happen
brain
anymore.
didn't either, and neither did
Whit
my
and I
snout.
didn't fight.
No.
I didn't do anything.
Yeah. Well, he did have one against Tim Jackman. I don't know if you've seen the photo.
Yeah, that one
but,
went great.
We
That
don't
one
need to
went
talk
great.
about that.
It's Christmas, guys.
So I don't know if I ever told this story. So I got awarded Sports Illustrated Man of the Year. I've never told you this story. It's a pretty big honor. Like if you're Canadian to get the Sports Illustrated Man of the Year, it's pretty special. And this guy's at center ice, right? And I can't remember his name, but Mark McCoy, I think, was the editor of Sports Illustrated. And this guy is presenting me, and I still have the trophy. It's unreal. I got it at my house. I have 2 trophies in my house. That one and Rocket Richard gave me a trophy. So I have this at my house. And he says, he does this big speech about Wayne Gretzky and being such a honorable guy and so nice and et cetera, et cetera. Second shift, I get into a fight. And I fight Neil Broughton, right? So, no, you can't make it up. So I get back to the bench and Dave Semenko says to me, you got 5 minutes for cat fighting. And I went, oh my God, I don't even know why I fought. And Neil Broughton and I laugh about it still to this day because it was the dumbest thing that ever happened to me in my career. After this guy gave this great speech about how
Classy guy.
Doing the Alex Semen bongos.
Okay, now how dumb am I, right? And Mark Messier says to me on the bench, he goes, that was really good. I go, I don't even know what happened.
Yeah, it all happens at a flash.
There you go.
Did you have any other fighting majors, or was that it?
No, that was it. I fought Bob Murray one time in Chicago Stadium, and we're at center ice, and I kind of grabbed him, and I threw him down, and he got on top of me, and I was so mad. And he got on top of me, and he goes, don't move, I'm not going to hit you. And I looked over at our bench, and I have 5 guys with their legs over the bench. I go, I'm not going to move. He didn't touch me. I got back to the bench. I go, nobody's allowed to touch Bob Murray the rest of the night.
Don't do anything to him.
No, not one guy went near him. They were like, okay.
Yeah, this ball.
Please, Wayne, please, let me get him.
No, he could have.
Murray's got quite a bit of space out
No,
there.
he
Like,
could have killed me. He had me like this, and he was like, I'm not going to move. I'm not going to touch you. And I go, okay, I'm good. That was the only 2 fights I ever had in the NHL. You can't make it up.
So I got to ask, you got to meet Roy Orbison? That must have been a thrill fire, though.
Oh my God. It was so incredible. My wife was so excited. She grabbed me by the arm. She goes, you have to meet Roy Orbison. You know, listen, when I went to LA, I didn't know what to expect. And here I am, a kid. I was a kid from a little town in Canada. And Roy Orbison was so excited to sing the national anthem at my first game. I'm like sitting there going, okay, this is pretty cool. That's when I kind of changed my focus from, gosh, I hated leaving Edmonton, okay, to like, okay, this could be really cool. Like we could have something special going on down here. And that was the night.
That's
Well,
awesome.
you mentioned just winning and like that bringing the fans and like the 92-93 season, it was really memorable. We were actually talking before you came over about that year. You only played 45.
Yeah.
What was your injury?
So this is really funny. So in April and May of that year, we went to Hawaii, Paul Coffey and his wife, Rick Talkin, his wife, Janet and I was lying on the ground at this restaurant, and the girl actually came over and said, hey, listen, he's going to have to leave. And I said, no, I got a back injury. I don't know what's wrong. And she was like, okay. And I was like devastated. I had a pain in my side that was so bad. And I went to 4 doctors who checked my, they didn't know if I had like a torn rib or a cartilage, or they had no idea. And went to training camp the first day, September 14th. My son Trevor was born, and we were in Big Bear. And I said, I can't move. And I went to this doctor, the Curlin Job Clinic, and he said, I'm going to check your back. I said, it's not my back, it's my side. And I had a herniated disc. And so they said to me, we've checked around 6 doctors. 3 said do surgery, 3 said don't do surgery. And one athlete's ever done surgery was a downhill skier, and she couldn't perform again. It was 18 months of recovery. And I said, oh my gosh. And he said, look, we'll put you on steroids. I went to Curlin Job Clinic, and I did steroids for 4 months. I did treatment. I did everything I could do. And you know what? I came back in January. I missed the first 40 games, and the team had played really well. They were in first place. And I came back, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to mess the team up because they're playing so well at the time, right? Kelly Rudy was the goalie, and Luke Robitaille was playing unreal, and Marty McSorley. And I came back, and I was really average for the first 15 games. And then Barry Melrose called me in his office, and he said, hey, just be yourself. Like, you're trying too hard. And then we got on this roll, and we went to the Stanley Cup Finals. And so maybe the 40 games gave me a little bit of a rest and a breather.
That's what we were saying.
That's what he
40
says.
points in the playoffs. I think it was your second or third best playoff ever.
I played really well in the playoffs. Our team played unreal. It was an incredible run. We weren't as good as Toronto. We weren't as good as Montreal. But we beat Toronto, and unfortunately, we lost 3 overtime games in Montreal. But it was one of the most proudest moments of my career, because when I was in Edmonton, when we won, we were the best team. We had the most talent. We were good. When I was in LA and we got to the finals, we weren't the best team, but our team played with heart. We beat Vancouver. Vancouver should have beat us. We beat Calgary. Calgary should have beat us. We beat Toronto. Toronto should have beat us. But our team played with heart, and I loved every minute of it. And that was the most fun I ever had in hockey, and most ejected I ever was. We lost that game 2 in overtime over the
stick call on McSorley.
So I came in the locker room after the second period at 2-1, and I said to Luke and Marty, they're going to check your sticks.
No shit.
Yeah.
Were they that big of hooks, or did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were. and I said, you guys, I'm just telling you guys, they're going to check your sticks. Is that something new? Maybe I told something new here. I said, I'm just, and listen, we wouldn't have got to the finals if it wasn't for Marty McSorley. It's not his fault. We wouldn't have got there without him. He played unreal. But I remember sitting there after the second period saying, you guys, they're going to check your sticks. Are you guys okay? And they said, we're okay.
Wow.
Oh. But we got to talk about the Toronto series.
Well, one of the funnier stories ever told on this podcast was by Bob McKenzie, and he brought up how, I think it was in game like 5.
Cut me up.
Yeah, the quote was, it looked like he had a piano on his back. I think Wayne's slowing down. And
piano on my back.
That was one of the quotes, right?
Game 5. Yeah.
Oh my God! So did you obviously?
Oh, I took it personally.
And I was like, give us the whole series. I mean, you're going back to Toronto.
Yeah, but in those days, there's no social media, right?
Right.
You read the papers. That's what we read, right? So I'm
Next
reading
morning.
So we're playing in Toronto game 5, and next day we're flying from Toronto to LA, and I'm reading the Toronto Star, the Toronto Sun, Globe and Mail. Wayne Gretzky's got a piano on his back. I'm like, oh my God. So I went up to Barry Melrose. I said, Barry, and Barry is a wonderful guy. I said, Barry, am I playing that bad? He goes, no, you're okay. And Barry's so positive, right? You know, you're okay. And I knew I was playing bad. He goes, but you're okay. I said, okay. And I took it personally, and I'm like, okay. So then I scored the overtime goal in game 6. And then I always tell people, I played a lot of bad games. Don't get me wrong. Everybody does. Bobby Orr did. Gordie Howe did. I did. The best game I ever played in my life was Game 7 in Toronto, when the whole country is rooting for Toronto to win so there can be Toronto-Montreal final, right? So I was in an elevator. Have I ever told you the story?
No.
So I was in the elevator. I don't know if you guys remember the St. Louis series. and St. Louis Blues and Toronto played Game 7, and the city went nuts, and the buses were turning over, and it was crazy. So we're playing Game 7 in Toronto, and we have extra security on our floor. And I go to the rink at 2 o'clock for a 7:30 game. So 1:45, my wife calls me and says, hey, and I'm under an assumed name. She only knows. So when the phone rings, I know it's her. She's I'm wishing you good luck. And I'm like, okay, we got it. So I get in the elevator and 2 security guards, and the one guy stays up and the one guy gets in the elevator with me. And I'm going down the elevator with him, and I go, hey, big night tonight, huh? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, yeah, it's going to be crazy. I go, what do you mean it's going to be crazy? And the guy says to me, innocently, he goes, oh, at 10:30 tonight, this town's going to be crazy. And I go, okay. So
really?
We get down to the bottom of the floor. This is really funny. We get down to the bottom of the floor, and I stop the elevator. I say, you know about your job at 10:30? He goes, yeah. I said, don't worry about it. He goes, what do you mean? I goes, my job starts at 7:30. Yeah, true story.
And then what? And then 5-point night.
There you go.
Good night, Jim Kite.
Yeah. So
Oh my God.
first guy in the locker room after the game was the security guy. He goes, I didn't blow this game, did I? I go, no.
No, Bob McKenzie did.
No. I go, no. True story. And then he comes in the room and he's like, I go, you know what? It's all good. But it was so funny because he was so thinking that Toronto was not going to lose, right? And I said, don't worry about your job. I got a job at 7:30.
And then was it the third goal that you banked in off the goalie?
No,
Or was that the
Dave
second?
Ellett.
Oh, yeah, off his foot, right?
Yeah,
And totally on purpose. There was no other.
It was a bullshit play. It was just
But you were
luck.
going off his foot, right? There was no other Kings in the area.
I was just throwing it out.
Okay.
I like to brag about it. I just threw it out.
I love the honesty.
No,
Hey,
there's no rhyme or reason.
you got to be good to be lucky.
No. But Kelly Rudy was so good in that series. Like, he was a phenom. And I always say, like, I got lucky. I played with so many good people in my career. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But guys like Kelly Rudy and Luc Robitaille and Marty, Craig Simpson, Mark Messier, they're just good people, right? And we all want to do the same thing. We want to win, right? Yeah. That's all we're trying to do. And we're all on the same page. Like, if everybody's on the same page, that's more important than anything.
Marty McSorley, like, he was probably the most famous guy on the team, wasn't he? I heard
my
he
gosh.
was just mingling with all the stars.
So Marty, I will give you a great story. But when we traded for Marty, Glenn Sather said, I traded for this tough guy. And the first day of practice, after practice, I said, that guy's on our team? No, I couldn't believe it. Like, he was so bad.
Oh, no. Really?
No, I'm not lying to you. And Marty McSorley, every day, I promise you this, and I tell kids this all the time, you can't be Mario Lemieux, you can't be Mark Messier, you can't be Gordie Howe, but you can be Marty McSorley. Marty McSorley every day skated an extra hour after practice every day. He'd go in the locker room. There was a guy there who was a Canadian boxing champion, and they would box. So, because those days you could fight, right? They were him and Semenko and a couple of guys with Kevin McClellan. They would box, and then Marty would take his skates and he'd go to an outdoor rink and skate for 2 hours every day. And Marty McSorley became a hockey player. And I always say to people, this guy, I give him all the credit in the world. He became an NHL hockey player because of his desire and work ethic. And you can't be Mario Lemieux, you can't be Guy Lafleur, you can't be Mike Bossy, but you can be Marty McSorley through hard work. Yeah. Right?
I want to ask Wayne, either before Game 6 or Game 7 versus Toronto, did you give a pep talk to the boys, or just try to keep it business as usual going into those games?
No, I was quiet captain.
Okay.
I was always a quiet captain. I never thought that a captain needed to get up and scream and shout and talk and yell. I'd call a couple guys aside and say, hey, we need you to do this, or, we need you for this. We had a line of Mike Donnelly, Tony Granato. They just were a grinder line. They got the winning goal in Game 7. They made it 4-3. but I never felt like I needed to tell guys what to do. I always felt like, you know what, actions and being at practice early, being the first guy on the ice, being the first guy on the bus, being the first guy at the rink, that was more important to be a captain than to yell at guys and say, hey, we need you to do this or do that. That's what I always felt.
You mentioned leaving the hotel at 2 for a 7:30 game. Was that normal, or just because you'd always be there that early?
Yeah. So I learned that in 81. So this is really great story. So I played in 81, and my idol was Guy Lafleur, and I played with him in 81. And Flower said to me, kid, he called me Curly. Curly, we're going to the rink. I go, we're going to the rink. It's 1:30. And so Guy Lafleur learned that in 76 from Bobby Orr. Bobby Orr would go to the rink at 1:30. And he always felt like if you get to the rink and get in the locker room, nobody could call you or bug you or bother you. I'm like, okay, this is pretty, okay, I get it. So that's kind of, I learned it from Bobby Orr, or Guy Lafleur learned it from Bobby Orr. I learned it from Guy Lafleur, and that's how it happened. So and so when you get to the rink, you know, you have a cup of coffee with the trainers, you're sitting on the trainer's table, and those days was a locker room, right? It was a trainer's table in the locker room. It's not like it is now. It's like carte blanche, right? Lounges and everything. Back in those days, it was a locker room. But no, that's where I learned it from. I learned it from Bobby Orr and Guy Lafleur.
What would you do to kill time? Would you have a cup of coffee? Would you?
Yeah, just a cup of coffee and sit and talk to the trainers.
Tape your sticks.
Crossword? You were your crossword guy?
Never. That's Brett Hall.
Brett Hall was a big.
Brett Hall is the biggest. Gordie Howe, Bobby Hall, and Brett Hall, the 3 biggest crossword guys I know.
Okay.
Never did.
Going back to Gordie, how special was it? I mean, you ended up breaking the goal record with LA. And I mean, you talk about how you'll probably fall around Ovi as he gets close if he does, because Gordie always set the example. And that's probably why you're so generous with your time and feel like you need to constantly grow the game and be an ambassador, is because you learned from him. So having him around and following that around in that experience must have been just so special to you.
It's amazing. So I met Gordie when I was 10. Greatest day of my life, other than all my kids and getting married.
Yeah, that one too.
No. When you're 10 years old, you meet your idol. I remember my dad saying to me, how was it? And I said, oh, he's bigger, better, nicer than I ever thought. He was so nice. And then we became good friends. And then I played with his son. I played with his son when I was 16 years old. And we used to get on the bus, and his son, who became a doctor, and he's an unreal guy. He gave his dad's eulogy at the funeral when we were there. Incredible eulogy. And we get on the bus, and one of the first times I met Murray, I said, Murray, you know, you're Gordie's son. I'm wearing number 9. You should wear number 9. I'll switch my number. And he goes, no, Wayne. You keep number 9. I'm not playing. This is my last year. I'm doing this for my dad. I'm playing 1 year. And I told him, I said, okay. So I get on the bus, and he have all these books, right? Because he was a student. And he'd say to me, Wayne, you never know. You might not make it in hockey. You need to bring books on the bus. And I said, okay. So the next bus trip we had, I bring these 5 books on the bus, and then we sit down beside Murray, and he goes, okay, I'm glad to see you got your books. What do you got? And I go, Gordie Howe my way, Gordie Howe hockey,
Matt Christopher.
How to be a NHL player. I said, you want to be a doctor, I want to be an NHL hockey, but I want to be your dad. Yeah. When I was 6 years old, I asked the barber to give me a Gordie Howe haircut. That's how much I love Gordie Howe. And then when I met him, he was even nicer, and we became best friends.
He was a fucking unit too.
No, and he was tough, and he was mean.
Oh yeah.
The first time I played against him, I said to all the guys after warm-up, I was 17 years old, I said, oh my God, Gordie kept winking at me the whole warm-up. And he's like, he's not winking at you, he's got a blinking problem. I said, oh, okay. So he stole the puck from him, and he hacked me on the hand, he cracked my thumb, and he goes, don't ever take the puck from me again, kid. That was Gordie Howe. And I said, never again.
I'll just shadow this guy out here to stay on the defensive side.
So then I played with him in the WHA All-Star game. I didn't think I was going to play. Jacques Demers picked me, and I'm like, okay, this will be fine. I'm part of the team. So I walk in the locker room, and the trainer says, coach wants to see you. And I said, okay. So I walk in. And Jacques says, kid, call me kid, you're going to center Mark and the old man. And I went, who's the old man? Like, I didn't know who the old man was, right? He goes, Gordy. I go, okay. I'm like, Mark and Gordy? He goes, yeah, that's who you're going to center. So I get in the locker room. I'm sitting there. Now, in those days, they had the sticks there, and Gordy's got his feet on his stick, right? And he's lying back, and he's got his eyes closed, and he's sitting there like this. And I turned to him. I go, Gordy, I'm so nervous. And he opened one eye, and he goes, so am I, kid. He goes, win the face-off, get in the corner, and we'll get a goal. I win the face-off. We got the puck in the corner. No lie. In 8 seconds, Gordie Howe scores a goal. And I go, this is the greatest friggin' person I've ever seen in my life. 8 seconds. I went, are you kidding me?
That's like a Mark Twain moment.
No.
Like,
I'm sitting with
cowboy hat.
No. I'm sitting with this guy going, he's better than. No. I thought he was God. He was God. He was the greatest player ever lived.
It must have been a little like maybe not stressful, but he's following you around. You probably just wanted to break the record, right? Because he's coming around. But it ended up being McSorley gave you a great dish for that goal, huh?
Oh yeah, he tells me about it all the time. No.
You got a text reminder.
So when I was breaking the record, this is a great story. And it's all coming to fruition now. But I said to my dad the night before, I said, I'm so embarrassed. And my dad said to me, what do you mean? And I said, I'm so embarrassed. Gordie Howe's the greatest hockey player ever lived. And he always will be in my eyes. And it'll never change. And I said, I'm so embarrassed to break his record. And he goes, are you out of your mind? And I remember looking at my dad. My dad's pretty straightforward, right? He's never really controversial. And he goes, don't even think that way. And I'm thinking, where's he going with this? And he says, you have the same dignity and respect when the guy breaks your record, that Gordie Howe, he's so excited and so happy that you're breaking his record. You make sure you have the same respect for the guy that breaks your record. And I went, okay, yeah. I remember I looked at my dad, I go, okay. I'm thinking at that time, who's going to break that record?
Like, somebody's going to break this.
No, but that was what my dad told me. He goes,
awesome.
No. But my dad was so ahead of his time. He's like, Gordie's so proud of you. You be proud of the guy who breaks your record. And I go, okay, you got it. That's what we said at dinner that night. Isn't that funny? And here we are, and we're close.
So, 3 years in LA, Yari Curry, you guys get reunited. Now, did you have any input with the GM as far as like acquiring his rights, and like how much say did you have in any moves the Kings did, if any at all?
Yeah. You know what? This is a hard one because I really didn't. I did, but I didn't. So if they asked me a question, I'd give them an honest answer, right? It wasn't like I would go in the office and say, you got to trade this guy. We got to trade this guy. That never happened. And that's why, in a lot of ways, I feel bad for Connor McDavid in Edmonton now. Like, he's under that microscope that I was under, that people feel like he's doing things. So, of course, they're going to come and ask me questions. But I never one time said, you have to do this or we have to do that. That was never, I was a player. I never wanted to be a GM. I never wanted to be that guy that said, hey, get rid of this guy or we got to get this guy. If they came to me and said, hey, do you think this is a good deal? Of course, I give my honest opinion. Mm-hmm. I was an NHL player. But at no time did I ever say, we have to trade so-and-so for so-and-so. That would never be in my motto. Never.
I think we were going to ask about Talk got brought in, and you had played with him in '87 at the, Canada Cup. Was that maybe something that you were pushing for to get a little bit more sandpaper in your guys' lineup and somebody who'd obviously won a Stanley Cup before?
Well, of course I want to talk on my team, but I would never say trade a guy to get Talk. But if we could get Talk, I would love to have him. Listen, Rick and I are best friends, and we've been best friends since '87, and we laugh and giggle all the time, and we won some championships together, and, listen, I love him to death, but I would never go to a GM or a coach and say, hey, we got to get this guy, trade this guy. That, like, you just, as a player, you just don't do that. I had enough going on to be the best player I could be. I would never do that.
I think the all the people who reached out when you came on last year, so many of them said, "Oh, if you ever have him on again, you got to talk about the '87 Canada Cup," which some people say is the best hockey ever played. So the final, the best 2 out of 3 against the Soviet Union, all 6-5 games.
Right.
So you played with Lemieux. You assisted on the game winner. Like, take me through that tournament. And I was reading before, and you didn't play with Lemieux till game 2 of the finals against Russia.
Well, it was interesting because we lost game 1 6-5 in Montreal, and we had chartered the team had chartered a plane from Montreal to Hamilton, and we were all disappointed as a team that we weren't playing in Maple Leaf Gardens, right? Because we want to play game 2 and 3 in Maple Leaf Gardens because we're NHL players. We're going to Hamilton. We didn't
I wonder
know
why
anything.
that was.
Yeah, we didn't know anything about Hamilton, right? So we're all like, okay. So I'm walking out of the locker room, and my dad says to me, you guys will love this story. He goes, "Well, you cost them the game." I looked at him, I go, "What are you talking about? Your shift was too long on the 6th goal." And I looked at him, I go, "What?" So we lose 6-5, right? And he goes, "It's your fault you lost tonight." That's what my dad says to me. No, it's my fault, but you did something wrong. I'm like, okay. So we get on the team plane and we fly to Hamilton, and we're thinking, okay, we're going to Hamilton. So we play game 2 in Hamilton, and I'm thinking, okay, I got to have a good game. So I start the game, and Mario and I are playing together. And earlier in the tournament, we had a shift together. We had a 2-on-1, and I passed it to him, and he passed it back to me, and we didn't score. And I got to the bench, and he's 21 years old then. And I said, "Mario, when I give you the puck, you're a better goal scorer than I am. You shoot the puck. Don't ever give it back to me." He goes, okay. No, he's a kid, right? And I'm still young. I'm only 27, but he's a kid. He's 21. He goes, okay. So we get into game 2, and we played really well together, and we win game 2, and he scores all these goals. He was phenomenal. Like, he was unreal. So I remember we drove after the game because the games were starting at 8:20. We didn't get back to, Janet and I were staying at my parents' house. We got to my parents' house at 2:30 in the morning. And Mike Keenan says, "We're going to have a light skate at 1 o'clock. And I'm like, a light skate? We just skated forever. So we went to the rink and we skated for 10 minutes. And so we get into game 3. But the cutest story of all was I get a phone call from at my parents' house from the Prime Minister's office and says, "Mr. Mulroney, the Prime Minister wants to talk to you." And I said, "Okay, tell him to call me." So they call, and I said, "Dad, answer the phone." And my dad answers the phone, and he goes, "This is Prime Minister Mulroney." And my dad goes, "Oh my God." He goes, "Really?" He goes, "Is your son there?" I had it all set up. So we go to the game. Now we're down 3-0. Before the game 3 starts, we're down 3-0. And Mike Keenan says to Mario and I, and I think it was Mess, "You guys sit down." So we sit down and talk it. Brian Propp and Howard Chuck score 2 goals, and we're back in the game 3-2. And Keenan kicks me in the ass, and he says, "Okay, you guys ready to go now?" And we ended up winning 6-5. But the moral of the story was we were so worried about Toronto, and the Hamilton Arena was so incredibly crazy. We're all sitting there going, "Thank God we're playing in Hamilton." Really? This crowd is so incredible. It was over the top. My wife and my dad couldn't even think. They would sit at every game, and they were like so nervous. It was one of my wife's first hockey games she ever saw me play in person. And then I said to her, next week we're doing training camp in Edmonton. It's not quite the same. It's not, the hockey won't be what you. Yeah, this is not the normal.
So you had started dating her that summer before the tournament began?
Yeah, we went to Canada Cup together. That's when we started dating.
I think it was Talkett who mentioned that like 6 days you guys were able to hide it and keep it out of the press.
Yeah, we tried to hide it as best we could, and then it came out like a parachute.
Oh no, all the publicity.
That's okay. You know what?
Talk said so you guys had a 3-week training camp in Montreal, and you went to get your hair cut one day, and the buddy who was cutting your hair must have like let his buddies know, and within like 20 minutes there was 300 people outside this barber shop of you getting your salad chopped.
That's when Talk had hair.
Yeah. He had a quaff. That's probably why you were at the barber shop so long.
Talk played unreal in that tournament. Let me tell you, he was so good. You know what? All our guys were good. You know, we were 5-5 in 3 of the games, and Grant Fuhr would say to the guys, "Don't worry, they're not getting 6." He was unreal. To me, he was the greatest goalie ever lived. And listen, Ken Dryden was unreal. Billy Smith was unreal. There's so many good goalies, but listen, push come to shove, Grant Fuhr was incredible.
I just wanted to ask about playing with Mario, and I think the quotes were like, you just put the best players with the best players. Like, was it instant chemistry? I know you said that you had to say, "Hey, shoot the pill when I send it over," but was that probably the easiest line mate you ever got to play with?
Not even close. He was the greatest player ever saw. Not even close.
So big.
No, he was so good. He was the best player I ever played against. He was the best player I played with. Mark Messier was the best player I ever played with as a teammate. Mario was so good. Like, he did everything. And the funny thing was, when we played together, we saw the game the same way. So I knew where to go when he had the puck, and he knew where to go when I had the puck. It was incredible. Like, he just was special. And unfortunately, through, you know, injuries and his disease that he had to battle through, he would have broke all my records. There's no question. Like, he was that good.
The funniest thing about the game winner with a minute left is it's a 3-on-1, and Larry Murphy's driving the far post. And I think he's like, I knew I wasn't getting
Was
it.
he never even an option, Wayne?
That was a decoy.
Not even a thought.
Less than 0?
No. But in fairness to Larry Murphy, okay, it could have been anybody. He did the right thing. He went to the net, right?
Yeah.
Took the defenseman. It could have been Bobby Orr. He wasn't getting the puck.
Yeah.
You got to give the puck to the guy behind. But he did the right thing. He went to the net. So unfortunately for Larry Murphy, everybody says, "Oh, Murph was never getting the puck." But it could have been Dave Keon. It could have been Gordie Howe. That guy takes the guy to the net.
Yeah.
The next guy is getting the puck, right? I saw Mario. Soon as I got the puck, I knew where Mario was. When I got the puck in between the red line and the blue line, I knew where Mario was. I was like, all right, Mario's getting the puck. Not even a question.
Interesting story during that. You actually had a barbecue with some of the Russian players over your house, right?
Oh, yeah.
And your dad had them downstairs sneaking beers because they couldn't be drinking
Eating
beer.
ice cream with the enemy coach?
No, so I met Larionov in 84 in Calgary, and I took him out for dinner and snuck him out for dinner. Uh-huh. And so I knew he spoke English. So he said to me in 87 during the warm-up tournament, exhibition games, he said, "Wayne, can we go have dinner?" And I said, "Listen, bring whoever you want. My parents live 20 minutes from here. Let's go to my house." And he said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Okay, this the big 5, Kasatonov, Larionov, Krutov, Makarov, and Kipesov. But Tikhonov has to come, and 2 KGB guys." I said, "No problem." So they come to my house, right? And my mom did a barbecue in the backyard, steaks and corn and baked potato. And my basement was downstairs. And I had this old friend, Charlie Henry, who was a family friend forever. He was the first coach to ever take a minor league hockey team to Russia, 1973, I think it was. And I said, "Charlie, you stand at the top of the stairs here. Don't let the KGB down." And I took the guys down there, and I had beers down there for them. And they all had a beer. They had 1 beer each. They were so happy and so thrilled and so, like, thankful.
Because they were so strict where they wouldn't have let them drink otherwise?
No, they couldn't have a beer. So they came down to my basement, and they had a beer. We all had 1 beer. And I showed them all my trophies and memorabilia and everything. And they all spoke pretty good English. Kasatonov didn't speak great English. Makarov didn't speak great English. But Fedosov and Larionov spoke for all of them. We had one beer, sat down there. They loved it. We went upstairs. It was unreal.
That's rare for like
back in those days, it was
Cold War stuff.
Yeah, it was Cold War.
Do you think that if that would have became public knowledge at the time, there would have been backlash towards like hanging out with the enemy before the tournament?
No, not from us, but for them.
Okay.
Yeah, not from us, but for them, it would have been not cool.
And what was it like at that time, like experiencing playing against, especially like Russia? Because like I think from an international.
So those guys all want to play in the NHL, right? So they're like, they want to know about us. They're good kids. They're nice people. They want to play in the NHL, right? So it had nothing to do with they loved our country and our people. It was right, what was it, 89, the wall came down?
Yeah.
So it was right before the wall came down. So they were thinking like we want to play. We want to play in the NHL.
Yeah,
that's what they're thinking, right? They're great kids. They're so nice.
Did you have Canadian teammates at the barbecue as well, or was it just?
No, it was just me. It was me and my mom and dad and my wife at that time, my girlfriend, and Charlie Henry, my friend. So no, not a lot of people.
Talk was joking around. He said that Keenan had this like nutritionist on board with the team.
Oh yeah, I can tell you all about that.
Oh, go ahead.
I didn't agree with what the nutritionist was saying.
No. Our first pregame meal was in Toronto, right? And at that time was switching over to pasta and chicken and all this. And so I walked into the first pregame meal and I said to the gal, I said, "Where's the baked potato and steak?" And she said, "Mr. Keenan said there's no baked potato or steak." And I said, "Well, I don't play without baked potato and steak." I said,
"You better get one down here."
I've done this my whole life. My dad taught me this when I was 7. You have a baked potato and a steak. And she goes, "Mr. Gretzky, we'll get a baked potato and a steak." And I go, "And we need vanilla ice cream for when I'm done."
These are still the pregame meals. It's the Wayne Gretzky NHL pregame.
And I'm like, no, I don't play without baked potato, steak. That's why my whole career I had baked potato, steak, corn, chicken noodle soup, salad, and vanilla ice cream. I ate it every day at 12:30. I said, my dad taught me that when I was 7 years old. I said, "Tell Mr. Keenan, does he want me to play tonight or not?"
Yeah, that's what Talk said. Within 20 minutes, there was 30 sizzling steaks right on the table with the baked potatoes.
Because he had salmon and chicken.
I think we're gonna need that guy in the lineup. Let's get
that is absolutely 100%.
Let's get the New York strips out here, please.
And you know what? Mike is unreal. Mike didn't care. Mike was like, "Okay, if that's what you need, that's what you want, that's fine by me." He was fine with it.
Yeah, none of this sweet potato.
Another international tournament, the '96 World Cup of Hockey. What do you have memories of that? What's the Obviously, you came out the wrong end, but what was what level? I guess compared to '87, was that probably just a notch below as far as the caliber of play?
It was unreal hockey. The Americans were unbelievable. They played. Richter was incredible.
Yeah,
the Leachy was good. They, Holly, they were a better team than we were. We won the first game. I think we won the first game, right? And we weren't as good as them. They deserved everything, and they deserved it. They were a better team than we were when it came push come to shove. Brett Hull played unreal. Tkachuk was good. Richter was good. Leach was good. Chelly, they were a better team than we were. We weren't as good as they were. They deserved to win.
Probably pivotal. So, I mean, Americans and Canadians, you think Americans pretty much caught up to Canada as far as the caliber?
100%. There's no question. Hockey has grown so much in the U.S., and there's so many good kids in the U.S. now. You look at Austin Matthews, and we're thinking about the Olympics. If you pick 3 American goalies, how good all those goalies are now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had to ask you the pressure you must have felt in 2002 when you were running Team Canada. You weren't playing. It must have been even worse with no control.
It was horrible. It was the worst feeling in my life. And then I would tell you this. I got so lucky. Pat Quinn was an unreal coach. I got really lucky. I had Yzerman, Lemieux, and Sakic that were running the team. And I remember thinking one day when we were struggling, and we beat Germany, I think 3-2. And I was driving back we had to play in this little town. Every team had to play in this little town, one game. Driving back thinking, oh my God, we just only beat Germany 3-2. This is not good. And then we tied the Czechs the next game 3-3. And I said, Theo Fleury got cross-checked in the back by Roman Hammerlick, I think his name was. And it kind of resonated our team and brought our team together. And then we got lucky. Sweden got beat out.
Yeah.
That was like godsend for us, because we didn't, for some reason, match up great against Sweden. But when Sweden got knocked out, that was a big thing for us. And then we kind of marched our way into the final. And we were a great matchup for the U.S. because we had such big forwards with Shanahan, Iginla, Lindros. Our team was big, right? They had Leachy, Chelly. We just matched up good against them. And Marty Brodeur played out of his mind. To me, he was one of the greatest goalies who ever lived. And when we went up 4-2, and then Sakic made it 5-2, I remember thinking, this is the greatest day of my life. I'm like, it was so overwhelming because, we hadn't won a gold medal since 1952. People don't realize that. They think it's Canada's game, right? We hadn't won a gold medal since 52. That's a long time. We flew a lot of the guys from the Edmonton Mercury team who won the gold medal down to that game, who were still alive, which was really cool. And I remember, I'll never forget, somebody said, 30 million people in Canada watched the gold medal game out of 37 million people. And my dad said, what were those other 7 million people doing? And I said, Dad, somebody's got to work.
Playing ball hockey.
How do you think the power stays on?
It's pretty amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like, that'd be like 290 million out of 320 million people watching the Super Bowl.
Crazy.
Pretty amazing.
Wow.
So it was one of the greatest days of my life. I had nothing to do with it other than I was part of it. I remember I went in the locker room and Steve Yzerman was getting worked on his knee. And the trainer was working on his knee. And I would always go down the locker room before the game just to wish the guys good luck. But I didn't want to bug the coaches or the players. And I'd just say, hey, good luck. And Stevie Y was on the table. And the trainer comes running out after me. And he goes, Wayne. I go, what? He goes, I just want you to know, if this was Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, I wouldn't let Steve Yzerman play. His knee's so bad. I said, well, thank God it's only a gold medal game. I think he got a goal and 2 assists. And then he missed the next 6 weeks. He had surgery. That's Canada, right?
Yeah.
This shows you. The guy played on one leg and played unreal.
And then I was at the Cup final that year, and he was same thing. His knee was a mess against Carolina, and they won it. He got the double that year.
He's unreal.
That play in that game, remember Mario?
Through his legs.
Remember he let it go through his legs?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's one of the most iconic goals
No.
in history.
Even I was like, okay, he's pretty good. No. When I saw that play, I went, I couldn't have done that. And I thought it was a pretty good player. There's no way I could have done that. Mario was so special. I saw Mario play at 16. I said, if this kid stays healthy, he's going to break all my records. He was that good. He's just,
and obviously that was like going back to Nagano, that whole ordeal. And I don't mean to end on a bad note, but obviously not getting.
Let's not talk about it then.
Okay, sure. That's a perfect answer.
No.
He wanted to shoot.
No, here's the thing. I will tell you this about Nagano. The greatest thing I ever went through in my life. I loved every minute of it. Because you know what was cool about it? Everybody thought, because we were the first professional team to go play there, right? And everybody said, oh, they're egotistical. They won't fit in. We got in the village. Everybody in the village, the skiers, the skaters, the curlers, we all got along. Everybody loved it, right? We did everything right except we lost in a shootout. There's nothing bad about it. Yeah. Like, it was unreal. And that's why it continued on, in my mind. It was so cool. We'd sit around and watch the curlers. We'd sit in the common room and watch the downhill skiers. All the hockey players, it was like going to a Pee Wee or Bantam hockey tournament, right? We all fit in. Everybody loved it. There's nothing bad I would say about Nagano other than we didn't win.
No, I mean, such a classy answer. Now, did you think you were getting picked to shoot? No, I mean, come on.
This is the call for Christmas.
I would tell you this. I didn't know who was getting picked. I was sitting beside Steve Yzerman on the bench. And I said to Stevie Y, do you know who's getting picked? He goes, I have no idea. He goes, do you? And I said, I have no idea. None of us knew. So that's a true story. And I said to Stevie Y, I said, Joe Sakic hurt his knee. He was sitting in the stands. And I said, Stevie, see that guy up there? And he goes, yeah, Joe Sakic. He's the only guy I've seen score against Dominic Hasek on a breakaway in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And he's up there. That's a bad sign. That's a true story. I go, that's not a good sign.
Called it.
I mean, that's a unbelievable
Hey, listen,
way.
I don't know who could have scored on Dominic Hasek.
yeah.
He was so good at that time. And you know what the sad thing was? Patrick Waugh was unreal too.
Yeah.
Like Patrick Waugh, like he allowed one goal, the other guy didn't allow any. Like it was this. The sad thing about the tournament was we didn't know what happened after regulation. That's what was sad about it. We didn't know if there was overtime, sudden death overtime, shootout. We didn't know as players. That was the one big. You can say who picked to shoot the shot. My grief was, or my complaint was, nobody knew what we were doing after the game ended at 1-1. That was my complaint. None of the players knew, okay, we're playing 20 minutes? Is it 10 minutes, 3-on-3? Like we had no idea. So that was unfair to us. That was the only complaint I have. Who they pick for the shootout? Hey, it is what it is, right?
Wayne, we're extremely grateful for your time. And I said that every year that I work for TNT or we work together, we'll get an hour from you. And I think we're over an hour at this point. But
we're good for next year too.
yeah,
Next year, we got the Blues, we got the Rangers.
we got Blues, retirement.
We haven't even got into the Blues.
We'll
and all
save
that.
it for next
We're
year.
saving for next time.
We got a lot of great Blues stories.
Any last Christmas story you might have? And we do have a couple gifts for you on the way out. I know.
One of my Christmas stories. Oh,
you like your tequila.
Okay, thank you. One of my Christmas stories that I got a Gordie Howe jersey.
That's
The greatest story ever.
That's all that comes to mind.
I'm very grateful.
What's your favorite Christmas movie? Got to ask that one.
Home Alone.
Oh,
Home Alone.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Didn't see that one coming. Nice.
Yeah,
Right.
33 years ago yesterday it came out.
Oh, shit.
Nice.
That's unbelievable.
Great.
Well, once again, we thank you for your time, Wayne.
thank
you, Wayne.
Awesome. Our fans are going to love it.
Just send me my 10 grand.
Yeah.
You know.
It'll be in your stocking on Christmas. Merry Christmas.
All right, before we go any further, here's a few words from our friends over at Game Time. You should never have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event, especially if you're using Game Time. Whether you want to catch the Stones on their next tour, baseball playoffs, hockey playoffs, basketball players, boom. Take advantage and use Game Time. It's the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. I've been using these guys for years, man. Whether it's a Celtics playoff game, concerts over Fenway, tons of stuff. If you're out of town, boom, hit it up there. You get hooked up, couple taps, 10 seconds, you are all set. You can see what tickets you're going to buy ahead of time. All kinds of flash deals, last-minute tickets, zone deals. Easy to find. Buy tickets for every kind of event, no matter what. Because Game Time is obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on your tickets. They have deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, hockey, concerts, comedy, theater, whole bunch more. With zone deals, you pick the section. Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Woo, good stuff. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Chiclets for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Chiclets for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Huge thanks to Wayne Gretzky for jumping on us once again. Hopefully you enjoyed that interview as much as we enjoyed doing it. Just a great guy, great storyteller, and hopefully got one more in the bank for you a little later down the line. But boys, season's out about a third along. It's Christmas time, you're going to get coal in your stocking, maybe get a little money in your stocking. So we have a little segment called Coal or Coin. Which team went is going to get coal in their stocking, and which player is going to get coal in their stocking?
Oh, I hate to do this to the faithful Senators fans up north, but last place in the Eastern Conference right now. Are you serious? I mean, with a year full of absolute madness, DJ Smith's gone, Jacques Martin comes in, they blow a lead in Colorado, they still look bad. It's just been a disaster. I think Brady Tkachuk mentioned he's as miserable as he's ever been. That's a leader. He called himself out. He said, I have to be better. Our team has to be better. But with the expectations going into this year and what people thought the Senators were going to be able to do, they still cannot play defense. They just give up way too many chances. And it's one of those things where you bring in a new coach, but you just cannot change immediately how a team plays and the patterns that guys get stuck in and turnovers at the wrong part of the arena and coming in and giving up odd man rushes immediately into a game and just not being ready to play. And with all these Senators fans out there and Sabres, they don't let the Sabres squeak by, but the Senators fans were expecting so much this season, and to be sitting on Christmas Day and have them in last place. Now, granted, they have games in hand, but 22 points in 28 games played this year. It's been an absolute disaster in Ottawa. There has so much to be left to be fixed there. I don't understand it. But right now, they're getting coal, no doubt, from me.
Biz?
For me, I'd probably say Buffalo. Fourth worst in the league right now as far as giving up goals. And I know that, with the goaltending situation coming to the year, maybe too much expectation on Devin Levi, but Ukko-Pekka Lekkinen, help me out here.
Ukko-Pekka
Lekkinen. But it's the fucking team defense. I went and watched the other night against the Coyotes. They fucking suck. There's too many holes. They don't really have a team identity. You could blame some injuries. I mean, the Quinn injury coming in. They've had other guys in their lineup. Tage Thompson missed time. But I think that for two teams that had the higher expectations of maybe being bubble teams and finally maybe getting over that hump, and for Buffalo, getting rid of the longest playoff drought in all of professional sports, it's not looking good. And you talk about how quickly there's coaches turnover. I mean, here's one for you. Sheldon Keefe is a longest tenured Canadian coach right now. Isn't that fucking crazy?
How about this one? Martin St. Louis is the 10th most tenured coach in the NHL right now.
Just bizarro lands. Bizarro lands. So I don't know how much longer Granato is going to be involved in the mix if this team keeps playing the way they've been playing. I think that you give them till the end of the year to see what else can change, but they have been a major disappointment. I think that fans are a little disappointed at the lack of maybe sandpaper and character and veteran presence that they brought in outside of those top-end skill guys. So we'll see what happens here. Still a lot of runway left, but I'm giving them coal. And as far as anything other than that, the New Jersey Devils need some love on the negativity side because they've been fucking brutal and inconsistent. We don't need to go into why. Same kind of issue. The goaltending seems to be a big problem, and they just really can't play team defense either. But I would probably lean towards the Carolina Hurricanes goaltending would deserve coal in their stocking. It has been an absolute nightmare. Rod the Broad's probably pulling out the little hair that he has left, and just a muck scene going on in Carolina right now. They are starting to trend a little bit in the right direction, but that to me has been the biggest disappointment, where I think with everything that they had coming in, their D squad on paper looked even better than they did last year, probably the most highly touted defensive squad in the Eastern Conference. And to be where they're at right now, not good enough.
I got to also just shout out Edmonton. All they had to do was beat the friggin' Sharks that game, and I'd still be being able to be wearing the blue and orange face paint and being that guy, but they lost to the Sharks when the Sharks were as down as you could be. And so they've had a turnaround, and they look good, but they're still looking up onto the playoffs. So it's been an upset. I mean, if you told all Oilers fans where they'd be at, no matter the run they've just been on, at Christmas time to be sitting way outside the playoffs, that's a tough goal right there. Although things are looking very different than when I stopped.
RA, who you giving call to?
For a team, I'm going to go to Seattle. I think after the expectations they raised last year, I mean, hell of a run out of nowhere. And then they've just kind of been, no pun intended for a water team, but just been floundering basically this whole season. They haven't been consistent. I know what's his face has been hurt. Blanking on
Burakovsky's been hurt. Schmaltz has been hurt.
Yeah, they've had injuries, but I don't know.
Schwartz.
They just like they're out of sorts. They just don't look like that confident team that we saw a ton of last year. And for a player, you kind of just stole my thunder a little bit there. I was going to say the New Jersey collectively, their goaltending. I mean, the save percentage and the what do you call it? Goals against. It's just brutal. It's like 8.83 or something for a team. You shouldn't even get in the playoffs if that's your save percentage for a team. So yeah, Jersey goalies getting some coal. Seattle as a team getting coal. Biz, who's got to get the biggest present under the tree for player and a team?
Player, I got to go with McKinnon, my heart pick. I think that he's been an absolute bulldog. For team, I said it earlier in the podcast. I like to snap the presents around. I'm in the giving mood. The Vancouver Canucks deserve it. To be at the top of the Pacific Division of how good. I mean, we're talking about a division that has the Kings in it, the fucking Oilers, and the Vegas Golden Knights. And for them to be leading that division at this point in the season, I don't think anybody had that on their radar. And they've been continuing to win. And you know who deserves the most presence on that team is these role players, the bottom six. Dakota Joshua, he's been incredible. I didn't even realize that he's an unrestricted free agent after this year. So he's going to get a pretty little payday. Hoglander, who he has been playing up in the top six more as of recently, he's in double digits in goals. Mikheyev, who's now was playing the last couple games on the top line, who's a fucking puck hound. All those guys who maybe you didn't expect outside of their top end dudes have been lights out for that squad, and it's been impressive to watch. And of course, a guy who the Leafs had, Lafferty, who's a fucking bulldog out there. So between those four guys and the contributions that they've brought, I think collectively they're close. I think they have like 35 goals between the four of them. Like that is remarkable production from guys that you maybe didn't have that expectation. And then the Jets. The Jets deserve a ton of gifts, as well as Tortorella and everybody we basically covered in the first half of the podcast. Give them whatever they want. Fill up their fucking stocking stuffers. Give them the Lego sets. Give them a Yoli stocking stuffer because they all fucking deserve it.
What?
Two teams I'm kind of battling between picking here. I think I gotta go the Bruins though. It's like, for what everyone said, to lose Bergeron, to lose Krejci, to have to come back from this horrific numbing loss in the first round to the Panthers after breaking the all-time record of the best team in the history of the regular season, and then this year to just show up and play as well as they have. Amazing goaltending, awesome defense, Marchand and Pasta, world-class players. Nobody expected this. There's nobody out there who could have thought they'd be sitting in first place in their division. So shout out to them. And then the other team that was, it's Arizona. I mean, like, fuck, dude. Same with Philly. Everyone kind of thought it was going to be another year in the desert. No clue where they're going to play next year. So many question marks around the entire organization, all the players, and they've played phenomenal. They're sitting in the playoffs right now. They got the second wild card spot. Clayton Keller is an elite level player. He can skate like the wind. His vision's incredible. They have contributions from everyone. I mean, Carcone, the Cy Young winner, 14 goals, I think, 4 assists. So it's just a team that's fun to watch. They're great at home. We've chirped them playing in a college rink for a long time, but it's become a big-time advantage for them. And I think everyone looking at them has no chance at making the playoffs, and them sitting in it around Christmas, they deserve some coin in that stocking. And a player, I just got to go with Quinn Hughes. I love watching Vancouver play. I think they're really fun. They score a lot, and he just controls the play like no other. It's him and Makar's race for the Norris. I think he's ahead of him right now, and the way he skates, sees the ice, just playing so many minutes. He's one of the most fun defensemen in the league to watch, so he's my guy for a special Christmas present this year.
Wow, well said.
I think Pablo deserves a little love too. 26 tucks right now. People thought I was crazy for saying that he's going to potentially pass the all-time goal record. I don't think it's that crazy of a take.
No, they think you're crazy anyways, Paul, but I don't know how much that has to do with it. All right, I'm big present. I got two guys, Charlie Lindgren and Connor Ingram. We've talked about Lindgren a lot lately, just sort of come out of nowhere, basically kept the Capitals afloat. And with Connor Ingram's down the desert, same thing basically, had a huge impact on Arizona. They're a team, man, though, with all the stockpiled draft picks they have in, talent, man. Hopefully they do get a new arena because they are going to be fucking nasty in a couple of years. And that's my team, Nashville. The Predators. I think they deserve a big present. Obviously, Saros, my guy there, but they were terrible. I mean, they were like the last place a couple weeks into the season. They've just been playing their asses off. So, yeah, they're worthy of a couple snaps. So, all right, boys. World Juniors, G. We got to go to our World Juniors expert.
Guys. The best the best experience you can have as a young player is playing World Juniors. I think there's so much excitement. I look back to I was lucky enough to play in two of them, Czech Republic and Halifax. Halifax, one of my top memories ever, just playing Canada and the chance to go to the gold medal game. Jeff Wawika came down the slot and buried the winner. Wawika, excuse me. I should have said his name correctly, but scored a huge goal against us. And just looking back, and it's pretty cool. Like, you're leaving your team, and you just hope that the team can, play well while you're not gone. I mean, Boston College, G mentioned, they got 7 guys on Team USA, and you just kind of hope that guys can get it going. But it's so exciting to meet up with a lot of guys you've met before and played with before internationally, under 18s or whatever. And then you get this chance to spend the holidays together. You're with the best players in the world, all around the same age group, and you have a chance to win a medal for your country. So I think anyone who's ever had the chance to play, and guys who are younger now and have grown up watching it, they just dream of representing their country right around Christmas time. All eyes are on you. So I'm excited for this year's tourney, no doubt. And I feel like Gothenburg's a great spot to have it. One of the most beautiful cities in the world. And I expect the crowds to be pretty crazy, at least for the Swedish games.
We'll actually have Merle's boots on the ground in Gothenburg throughout this throughout awesome. The World Juniors. So that'll be awesome. But U.S. is the favorite at plus 175. So I think it's their tournament to lose. 8 players returning from last year. 10 players who have been drafted in the first round. I think 8 of their top 9 guys in their forward group are first round picks. I look at the freshman line from BC who's been lighting it up this year. Ryan Leonard, Gabe Perreault, Will Smith. I still don't know how Gabe Perreault fell so far as he did in the draft to the Rangers. Steal of the draft last year. But Cutter Gauthier, I've seen a few BC games this year. Whit, I think you've seen him play a few times as well. He is a man amongst boys. He looks like Nathan McKinnon almost playing at college. He could jump into the NHL right now.
Kind of like McTavish looked, just built like a brick shithouse.
Exactly. He just looks like he's a step above of all these guys playing. Just from a skill level too, his shot is incredible. But I'm going to throw some names out there of some guys I want you guys to keep an eye on. First, Maverick Lamoureux. Biz, you should know him. Arizona draft pick last year, first rounder. He's 6'7" without skates. Like that kid, I watched the game right before we started recording, USA versus Canada exhibition game. This kid looks like Zdeno Chara out there. He's so raw. He's so skinny. He has a lot to develop, but I think he's going to be a promising prospect. Another guy, Axel Sandin Palika, Detroit's first round pick from 2023 from Sweden. Now, this kid's 18 years old, playing in Sweden's top league. He has 9 goals, 13 points in 25 games as a defenseman. This kid's an absolute stud. He's been compared to Nick Lindstrom, Victor Hedman. So I'm keeping an eye on this kid. Matt Poitras from the Bruins. I think he'll be Canada's best player. Bruins loaned him to Team Canada recently. I think he's going to be playing with Savoy from Buffalo. So I'm keeping an eye on him. Liam Ogren plays for Sweden, the Minnesota Wild, first round pick in 2022. And then lastly, Lane Hudson. Whit, how good is this guy? I mean, in the USA versus Canada game, he had that 100-foot pass, was just threading the needle. BU kid, Montreal's
first round.
Yeah.
He's just
Montreal's second round draft pick.
He's just dipping and dodging like Bobby Orr.
Dude, he has head fakes that are out of this world, Biz. Like, he's last guy back on the blue line, and his head and his eyes are going one way. Spinoramas, ridiculous stick handling. Like, the skill level he has, I think has a good chance of being the best defenseman in the tournament. But I mean, they have Seamus Casey too on D for Team USA, who's lighting it up in college. But Lane Hudson is just, was he named captain, G?
No, Rucker McGorty was named captain.
Oh, Winnipeg's first rounder.
Yeah, he's a stud too at Michigan, and he was hurt, and he just got cleared to play. So he's captain, and then Gauthier and Hudson are the assistants.
Biz, he was the kid who came up to us at the draft in the. Oh, you weren't with us. It was me and Merles. He came up, and he was there for Fantilli, all his buddies, and Brindley, and who's Columbus's second rounder, who's on Team USA, hell of a player as well. He was a beauty, dude. This kid was hilarious. We ended up having some drinks that night, so. I'm very excited to watch Team USA. They have a wagon. I think this is probably, on paper, one of the best teams they've ever had. They're favorites, and it'd be awesome to see them get it done. I know there's a question mark in goal. Will it be Fowler from BC or Augustine from Michigan State? Both of them studs, so we'll see who ends up getting the job for them. Canada, it's kind of going to be the Celebrini show, I think. I've got to witness this kid, and I've kind of talked about it, but turned 17 in June, and he has been lighting up college. Definitely a Hobie Baker favorite. He's going to be the best player on Canada. I kind of disagree a little bit in terms of Gise and Portra. I know he's older and he's played in the NHL, but this kid is that good. He'll be the first overall pick in the NHL draft. He's so young. He's still got the full cage on at World Juniors, but it's just going to be an awesome tournament. I love the December 26th. I know Boxing Day in Canada, the games get going. Usually, back in the day, there was always the USA Canada.
It's the worst. No
New
US
Year's
Canada
Eve,
game's the worst.
New Year's Eve game, but they're not in the same divisions. They haven't been in the same brackets for a little bit. So let's hope they meet up maybe for the gold medal, at least in the semifinals. But it's just awesome to see how many young stars are on the ice at the same time. And it's one of those things. You look back 5 years later, and you just like, holy shit, there was that many star NHL players playing in one tournament together, all playing for their nation's pride, and it's going to be an awesome tournament to watch. So I personally, it sucks without Russia being in it. I guess I understand why, but they just always add that They add those crazy storylines in terms of like all these stud prospects. Will they form as a team? If they end up winning, there's madness. You remember the celebrations of the Russian teams who couldn't even get on the flights home. I think they won when Yakupov was on the team.
They were smoking cigs in the front of the plane. Remember, they got booted off.
So it's going to be a great tourney. I think all the games are on NHL Network here in the States, TSN in Canada. You get some great broadcasters and you see some future NHL stars. So I think it's also cool for fans of teams. You know, you don't know much about your first, second, third round picks, and then they get in this, and you get to watch them in the biggest games they've ever played in. You see what they're like under pressure. I mean, how many times were Oilers fans excited and reminded of what they had in Jordan Eberle and his heroics for Canada and tying it up late against USA or Russia, I think it was, in Ottawa that year, and doing it again in Saskatoon. So there's all these different storylines every year, and you get to see guys whose dreams are to be NHL studs get a chance to do it against the best in the world. So I can't wait.
Celebrini dodged a bit of a bullet there, not getting sussied.
Although
I feel like everybody seems to be catching on and the guy's turning late. Where maybe in the past, especially double IHF, they would have gave him a pee-pee whack 1 or 2 games, but you can't be sitting the star of the tournament because of a turn hit.
Yeah, it did look bad though. I thought he'd get a game. But maybe, as you mentioned, Biz, they figured, all right, we need this guy. We need the fans in the building to see Celebrini play.
Yeah, I can't wait. Starts up tomorrow, Wednesday. We want to send our best wishes to Blues legend Kelly Chase. He disclosed on Twitter last week that he's been diagnosed with leukemia, and we know Kelly Chase never backed down from a fight. He's not gonna with this one. So Chase, wishing you the best, pal. Go knock that shit out. And also to our listeners, the best listeners on the planet. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, whatever else you celebrate. Happy that. We love you guys and gals. We wouldn't be where we are without you. And it's another year down, and we're happy where we are. We want to keep on chugging along, boys. Any final thoughts or words for
the last
listeners?
time we'll be coming to you guys is after the Winter Classic. So it's nice that we're going to give our crew, after this podcast is released, a little bit of time off to spend with family and friends. They deserve it. We hope you guys get to enjoy the same. And we hope you guys enjoy this surprise on Christmas Day.
Biz, anything special planned for Mexico, buddy? Or are you just going to relax? Just take in those rays.
I'll be playing golf 3 times.
Yes, dude.
Yeah. I need it. So we get this fun little match there where it ends up, whoever the loser ends up paying for dinner. It's a best of 3. And I play with Jackie the alien, my gal pal, her husband. And then we go against Mr. Carl's, where I'm staying. They have a beautiful place on the San Jose side on the water. It's got to be worth 15 sheets. And I get to bunk up there, and they got fucking awesome food, awesome restaurants. You're not on the side where everybody's trying to sell you cocaine every 5 minutes. You're on the very chill side.
That's RA side.
That's where RA is doing all of his mixing and shaking. But it's going to be a good time, buddy. I'm looking forward to dialing completely out, and that's it. That's all I got. Love you guys.
One thing real quick, our next podcast is going to come out January 3rd on Wednesday. That'll be because of travel situations with us leaving the Winter Classic from Seattle. So January 3rd will be our next podcast after this one.
And we'll see you at Winter Classic if you're going to the event. What's the bar again, RA?
The Press Box, baby.
Press
we'll
Box.
see you there.
1518 First Ave South, Suite 100.
That's where I used to do all my damage, the Press Box. Love you guys.
Go USA. Merry Christmas.